Ada for still getting on a flight home when my two young co-workers I was traveling with weren't at the airport yet and were obviously going to miss it. TLDR. Went on a work trip with two junior employees not on my team, and they missed the flight home because they went sightseeing the day we were leaving. I still got on flight even though they weren't at the airport. This past week, I was presented with an industry award in Nashville that an agency partner nominated me for. I am a director at my company. My co decided to send two junior-level employees to the event as well because they thought it would be a good experience for them. A specialist who has been with us a little over a year, 25F, first job out of college, and a summer intern, 21F, rising senior. They are not on my team, report up through separate VP, and I have very limited no interaction with them in daily work life. They were very excited to be going. This was going to be the specialist's first time on a plane, lots of Teams chats asking what to wear, etc. We were flying in Thursday morning and leaving Friday evening, so it was a very short trip, but I tried to help share info about the event types of attendees, awards reception Thursday night with a country western theme. Then I was speaking on a panel Friday morning. There's so much I could say, but I'll try to highlight key points. Specialist barely made Thursday AM flight because she doesn't have a real ID and had to do extra screening. She had no idea what a real ID was, or the basic rules of flying, liquid restrictions, etc. She was very upset they made her throw away some of her skincare that was over 3 ounces. Thursday night event was country western theme. And while a majority of people there were business casual, intern shows up in a bandana tube top, micro skirt, cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat. I pulled her aside and asked if she wanted to run upstairs and change since it was still a business event. But she said she was fine and she thought she looked cute and on theme. After ceremony, I invite them to join me with some colleagues I knew from other companies in the hotel bar, but they tell me they want to check out Broadway. I make a face and say this would be a good networking opportunity. They make "come on mom" jokes, and so I tell them to be safe and remind them the time and location of first session the next day. Text them around 11 p.m. that I hope they got back safe. No response. Went to bed. Text them the next morning offering to meet them for coffee before morning sessions. No response. No idea if they actually attended any sessions or saw my panel, but I did find them in the hotel lobby afterward looking incredibly hungover. Have about 2 hours after event is over and before we need to go to the airport, I invite them to late lunch with our agency partners. They decline because they want to go to the Country Music Hall of Fame. Again, make a face and say I don't know if they will have time, and I think it would be a good opportunity for them to spend time with our agency. They act like I'm the wet blanket, so I tell them I'm leaving for airport from the hotel at 4 p.m. sharp and meet me in lobby so we can share a lift. Text them at 3:45 p.m. that lift is arriving in 15 minutes. No response. Text them that lift has arrived and I'm leaving for airport. No response. Text them when I get to airport and tell them security line is long, neither had pre-check. No response. Text them when I get to gate to please give me some sign of life. In turn sends very short response about 10 minutes later. In lift, there's traffic. Nothing else. Text them flight is starting to board. No response. Text them when I'm in my seat that boarding is about to end. No response. Doors close. They don't make it. Put my phone in airplane mode. Land a couple hours later to a barrage of texts from them. They're stranded in Nashville, don't know what to do, how to rebook, who to call for help, etc. I also have an angry voicemail from specialist's mom that I abandoned her daughter in Nashville. She has never flown and has anxiety. She's having a panic attack at the airport and needs medical attention. She could be human trafficked? I call specialist and intern back. Both phones ring, but neither pick up. Text to see if they were able to rebook. No response. Forward them email with our business travel info with after-hours contact and text them that I sent the email. No response. Texted an hour or so later to see if they were okay. No response. Did not call the mom back. Also have text from their director, don't know her well, just started with co a couple weeks ago asking what's going on. I send her brief overview and screenshots of all my unanswered texts to them from earlier in the day along with the transcript of the VM I got from the mom. She acknowledges my response, but no further dialogue. Now, I get an invite for a Monday morning meeting from that director with their VP and our C-suite leader. My VP is on PTO. I feel like these are adults. I was communicative, and I'm ultimately not responsible for their decisions. But you tell me, Aita here? Update. Insert it's me wicked meme here. This whole fiasco has really challenged my Reddit skills. LOL. Here's my update after my meeting this morning. If there is a better way to post it that won't get me in Reddit jail, LMK. Meeting over. CMO didn't join. It was other VP and director, plus the internship coordinator, who is in HR. VP asked all the questions. It was over Teams, on camera, recorded, almost comically formal, like I was being deposed or something. During the meeting, was asked to recap what happened, starting from when we arrived. I was prepared, had all my key points. Kept it factual on my actions, no speculation on their actions. I shared my phone screen live, went through the text messages with timestamps and the voicemail from Specialist's mom. I was asked if I had requested or encouraged Specialist to put any expenses on her P card. This question took me by surprise. I said I didn't even ask or consider that she had a P card, and beside the lift from airport to hotel, which I scheduled, I was never outside of the official conference activities with either Specialist or intern that would have required any sort of payment. I did say I would consider it to be her line manager's responsibility to make sure she understood our travel and expense policies prior to traveling. I was asked if at any point I had reached out to anyone at the office about anything that was transpiring, to which I said no. I certainly intended to when I returned, but we are talking about everything that happened within a 32-ish hour window, all while I was trying to focus on what I was sent there to do: participate as a panel member at the conference, attend other presentations, take advantage of face-to-face time with our agency, and accepting my award. I said I felt it was reasonable to believe any other attendees would have expectations for participation and outcomes set by their leadership team, especially when coming from another department, where I wouldn't be knowledgeable about their goals and objectives. Similarly, if there were different expectations of me based on other co-attendees, I would expect that to be clearly communicated in advance. I was not asked if I thought intern and Specialist should receive any sort of reprimand, and I didn't feel comfortable trying to interject something like that based on the flow of conversation. I'm under the impression that they're meeting with Specialist and intern separately, but my meeting was first. After the meeting, I debriefed with a trusted colleague, who shared the following from Friday water cooler chats. I definitely offended intern by pulling her aside about her outfit. She posted it to Snapchat with a caption about it, and some other employees saw it. Dying to know what exactly it said, but Coworker said everyone who did see it agreed it was inappropriate for a work event. Allegedly, Specialist's mom had once called previous director who left. Director in meeting today replaced him about Specialist's working hours. It is known that several months ago Specialist was pulled off a high-profile project team. Apparently, when she was asked to put in some evening and weekend hours to meet a deadline, mom called director and complained. Don't know if I believe this to be true, but mom stepping in could be a pattern. What I'm hoping helps validate my testimony is separately on Friday. One of my agency partners I was with emailed my CMO about a conversation we had after the ceremony on Thursday evening with some ideas he had. Typical agency sales-wise stuff. But he also unknowingly corroborated my alibi on Thursday night. So, that's where we are at. Last night, I had convinced myself this all would result in me receiving a big apology or acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and that I shouldn't have had to deal with this, etc. But I didn't, which makes me feel this is still a bit unresolved. I did send all my notes to my VP on Sunday, but his PTO is medical related, and I know he's not able to really check in, so just keeping my head down until I hear anything else. Final update: an Aita Nashville work drama. This will be my final update. It's probably not going to be as juicy as you want it to be, but hopefully it provides some level of closure to this whole thing. This post will still be long because I generally have a problem with brevity, and I have big feelings about this whole experience. Here are the things I want to say. I bolded the topics so you can choose what interests you. Was the post fake? No. I don't really understand why it was flagged, what rules I broke, etc. I did alter some details to try and protect my identity, more on that later, but feel this is a generally acceptable Reddit practice. At the point where it was taken down, it had already gone viral, so I honestly appreciated the decline in notifications. LOL. According to my DMs, many people felt entitled that I provide them with proof of authenticity, and it's like, be so for real. I'm a human looking for advice on the internet, not a gold-plated, uncirculated, oversized, novelty Sacagawea quarter you buy from an infomercial in the middle of the night. If you don't like something or think it's fake or it's not bringing you joy, just scroll on. It's really easy to do. Threatening a stranger won't prove anything or make your life better. Was I actually doxxed? Yes. While I received many incorrect guesses at my true identity, there were a couple that were correct. And holy shit, is that scary. I don't know what compels a person to go to such lengths to try and figure out who a random internet poster is. But maybe don't spend your time doing that. Unless it's someone threatening to shoot up a school or bomb a concert venue, of course. Take those despicable monsters all the way down. But I'm just an elder millennial trying to navigate imposter syndrome in corporate America, pay my bills, and generally be a good person, so one day I can hopefully retire and rescue a borderline concerning number of geriatric Pomeranians. Very unworthy of your CIA caliber sleuthing. Please, make friendship bracelets or try diamond painting as a relaxing hobby instead. Or join the actual CIA and take down would-be school shooters and concert venue bombers. Has anyone from my job seen my post? Yes, in some form. More than one person, in fact. Perhaps naively, this was something I never even considered would happen. It's Reddit. It's anonymous, and everything is cycled through in about 24 hours, right? But as soon as the reaction videos started coming across my FYP, a People magazine web article, and all the other ways this thing took on a life of its own. In GL, I had pretty severe panic about this. Like, wow, I handled the situation as best I could and came out relatively unscathed, but me seeking validation of internet strangers will be what takes me out in the end. So far, I have not been reprimanded over it, but I accept whatever comes of it. Not my most professional move to air out others' not most professional moves on the internet, and I will seek a healthier outlet in the future. Maybe I'll make friendship bracelets or try diamond painting. Will specialist and intern be fired? To my knowledge, they are both still employed, although today is the official last day for the entire summer intern cohort. I know how I would handle one of my team members if they did this, but I trust they would never, ever, ever, because they're sensible and smart and amazing. And probably reading this, but for these two, it's not up to me to decide. And while I take full accountability for bringing all gestures widely this on myself, I'm at a point where I would very much like to be excluded from this narrative within my actual place of work. In conclusion, for everyone who commented and sent such nice, supportive messages, thank you. Sincerely. I did get some good advice, and I'm glad I could help you temporarily escape into someone else's work drama. Provide HR training material for new employees on travel policies, or maybe validate that whatever you did on your first work trip that creeps into your brain when you're trying to fall asleep at night wasn't actually that bad. I took the rest of the week off, which may seem like an overreaction, but sometimes weird stuff impacts you in ways you aren't prepared for. I'm going to use the time to rest, do a bit of reflection, and look at pictures of geriatric Pomeranians. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my dad's wife she screwed her kid out of grandparents. So my 20F dad is with his affair partner Laura. He and Laura have a kid, Lucy 13F. Lucy was conceived after my dad and Laura were already together a while. Her birth wasn't the reason my parents split, in case anyone is wondering. But obviously my dad's family knew about the affair once my parents split, and they banned Laura from ever attending family events. To this day, the only people on that side of the family that have met her are me and my one cousin, who came to stay with me at my dad's for a few days one time. My grandparents told Dad they'd happily be active in Lucy's life, but it would have to be Dad that facilitated the relationship, meaning he'd have to bring her to see them alone. Laura said no. I guess she thought eventually she'd force herself into the family through Lucy, but all it did was mean no one ever met Lucy. My dad would take me to my grandparents' or aunt's place without Laura and Lucy, and that was just how it went. Well, it recently came up that my grandparents were giving me money towards buying an apartment when I graduate, which set Laura off. She's always been bitter that my grandparents financed my schooling, but my dad paid for university. She was passive-aggressively grumbling at the dinner table that this is why she felt we could have asked them to pay for my university and that it would be nice if Lucy got to have grandparents, but some people are petty and cruel. I looked at my dad like, are we really playing that game? But he didn't say anything. Then Laura turns to Lucy and goes, you should know none of this is your fault. Life isn't fair, and you got the short end of the stick with certain family members. So I just said, yeah, the short end of the stick family member is you, Laura. Lucy could have had the same relationship with my grandparents that I do, but you were so selfish that you screwed your own kid out of that. Laura argued that no one who hated her could have a relationship with her daughter, so I was like, well, what are you mad about then? That your principals ended up sabotaging your kid? Maybe that's on you. At this point, my dad was giving me a death stare, so I just went back to my food. Laura sent me a text later that night about how much she didn't appreciate me saying that in front of her child, and that it was her prerogative how she managed that relationship. She also said my dad's family are cruel and vindictive. I didn't reply, and honestly, the only reason I don't have her blocked is in case my dad is taken ill suddenly. But now my dad is saying it's caused issues at home because Lucy is finally grasping that Laura is the one who wouldn't allow her to have a relationship with dad's side and is now apparently pretty mad about it. He's saying the way I went at Laura was inappropriate in front of a child and that Lucy shouldn't have heard all that, but I think she only heard it because her mother was retconning reality. I didn't mean to cause an issue between Lucy and Laura, but honestly, I do feel like Laura was asking for it by acting like an idiot in front of someone who knew the whole story. Edit. Just to clarify, no, my dad's family didn't immediately forgive him. For a long time, they only invited him to things if he brought me during his custody time. But time heals most things. They all still think he's a prick, but honestly, I'm sure they thought that before. No, they haven't totally cut him out because we're just not that kind of family. But Laura was never family to start with, so it's way easier to never make her acquaintance than to cut out your blood relative that you've known for 40 years. I think that's fairly obvious. I am not mad that Laura set the boundary she did, and I'm not mad my parents got divorced. I got mad that Laura set a totally fair boundary that my dad went along with. Not saying he's blameless, he's just not the one actively complaining and then tried to pretend that the consequences of said boundary shouldn't have happened. If you don't want your kid around people who don't like you, understandable, why are you whining that they're not around for your kid? Top comment. NTA. I sincerely hope Lucy starts asking to go see them without her controlling, home-wrecking, selfish mom. ETA. Obviously, the dad has the most blame here for the affair and wrecking the family. I had no idea a quick response would raise an army of people thinking I'm a massive misogynist because I didn't include something so obvious. Laura is trying to use a relationship with her daughter as her way to legitimize the relationship and weasel her way into acceptance by her husband's family. That didn't work. She is actively screwing her daughter out of financial support because she's mad her plot didn't work. If dad hadn't been so spineless, he would have told Laura that instead of letting his daughter think her bio-grandparents hate her and then hefting mad at OP when she dissolved the illusion. Another comment. Laura brought it up in front of the child. Laura was using the child feelings as a weapon for her snide comments. Laura used the child as a pawn. Laura is somehow shocked her monologue became a dialogue. Laura is a fool. Your dad allowed this to happen to his child. Once again, your dad allowed his child to be negatively impacted by the selfish, self-satisfying actions of adults. Your dad is a selfish person. Your dad is okay with his children being deeply, emotionally wounded. Your dad is a fool. Both are now seeing the results. And now both are deflecting and denouncing their roles. Shame on them. They set up the child for an adulthood of therapy because I'd bet my shoe that child is not in therapy. But sure, yeah, this is all your fault. NTA. Reply. My dad is the most selfish person I've ever come across. Me and my dad actually went to therapy together. That's why I still have a relationship with him. I understand him and expect absolutely nothing from him. Because although he does really try to care, his care only goes as far as it doesn't inconvenience him, and that will never change. Update. I told my dad's affair partner it's her fault her kid doesn't have grandparents. I'm not sure anyone wanted an update, but I like to read post updates, so thought I'd drop one. First thing that happened, Laura would not stop texting me. Not like constantly, but once or twice a day about her feelings or demanding a conversation. This middle-aged woman having a crash out via WhatsApp was not on my bingo card, but eventually I just had to tell her I don't want to block her because I do want to be there for my dad in an emergency, but I was going to if she didn't stop bothering me. More crash out material. I called my dad and told him to get his household under control because this was getting crazy. I wasn't going to apologize to her, and in my whole life, I've never had as much contact with this woman as I had in the past week, and I wouldn't allow it to continue. My dad was kind of getting that it was an actual issue now, and I pushed him a bit, and the dam broke. So the wider context I was not aware of is that Lucy is only now putting the pieces together of how Dad and Laura got together. She vaguely knew about the affair, but I guess she's finally getting what that means now that she's older and how much damage it did, and she's been asking a lot of hard questions about it, and has been really down about it. That's probably why Laura was so triggered by the mention of my grandparents and in a rush to put her spin on it. But since the dinner, Lucy has really been raking Laura over the coals for it apparently, because she knows my dad would have let her see the extended family were it not for Laura. My dad also shared that Laura basically feels like she spent a large chunk of her life being punished for the affair, and it's weighing on her because of how hard Lucy is taking it. Side note, a lot of people were rightly roasting my dad for the affair, But if the above should prove anything, it's how much he is definition of a cockroach. The way this man manages to get away with diabolical behavior relatively unscathed is shocking. The second thing that my dad said, and uncharacteristically admitted was a fuck up, was telling Laura that probably part of the reason no one ever eased up on meeting her was because they all knew I can't stand her. And I hold my hands up because I did a lot of bad-mouthing Laura back in the day to my grandparents and aunts because, well, I don't like her, and when you're a teenager you think that needs to be everyone's problem. I don't think this is as big a reason they still won't meet her as my dad probably made it seem. But he did admit he threw me under the bus for it ages ago, and Laura has never forgotten it. She thinks me poisoning the well is the whole problem. So that's probably got a lot to do with her complaining at me specifically. My dad did acknowledge that it was a mistake to tell her what was said, and while I wouldn't go around talking bad about Laura now, I don't feel bad about sharing my feelings with my family at the time. I did ask my dad if Lucy was going to be allowed contact with the grandparents, but Laura is still saying no. But he said she's close to cracking just because of how much of a hard time Lucy is giving her, so he's going to wait it out. In the meantime, I haven't heard from Laura in a couple of days now, which is what I mainly wanted from the situation. What else to put in this update? If anyone had any lingering questions, feel free to ask, but if not, thanks for the advice. Top comment. I feel for Lucy, but Laura made her own bed. Too bad. She's making Lucy lie in it. Live your best life. I don't think you did anything wrong. Stories number 3. My husband is leaving me for a younger woman, and all I can think about is the house decor. I made this account because my main one has my friends on it, and I'm way too embarrassed to be known as the cheated on wife. I'm 34F, married for 7 years to my husband 41M, together for 10. I love my husband and always thought he felt the same about me. We built a life together. 8 years ago, he had severe anxiety and couldn't sleep, so I would stay up with him, holding his hands and doing breathing exercises until he could finally rest. I'd go to work exhausted. I helped him find a therapist. I encouraged him to grow in his career, even though he was afraid. 6 years ago, I quit my job to take care of his mom who had cancer because he had the potential to earn more than me. While I was job hunting again, I got pregnant, and he suggested I stay home to take care of him and our daughter. So I did. I cared for him and I loved him. In December, he got a promotion, which meant more hours. I gave birth to our daughter in March. I went through a phase where I felt horrible, fat, ugly, and it was just me and my baby at home. He barely talked to me, always said he was tired, and that I wouldn't understand what he had to say. If it wasn't for my mom staying on video calls with me, I think I would have felt completely abandoned. I've been suggesting couples therapy since June, and he kept saying everything was fine. Now I feel like I'm nothing more than a mother. I used to read, study, be interesting. I wasn't sexually frustrated or insecure back then. I used to have conversations about politics, music, books, art. I decorate our house myself with my own savings, and it's everything I ever dreamed of. I love my house. The colors, the furniture, my kitchen. It took me years to make it exactly how I wanted. I have the garden I always dreamed of, a vegetable patch I adore, and a hanging chair where I love to sit with my baby. Last week, he came home later than usual, and I was happy to see him. I was in the living room playing with our daughters. He asked the older one to go to her room. He seemed like he had been drinking and then said, "I love you so much, but I don't want to be with you anymore." He told me I wasn't the person he fell in love with anymore. Then he said he was in love with a girl from work, that she was everything he'd ever dreamed of, and that he needed to give himself the chance to live that love without guilt. Yes, he cheated on me with a 22-year-old. When I finally managed to speak, the only thing that came out was, "But what about my home decor?" At some point, I picked up my baby and started shouting things like, "I put time into this house. I did everything it needed. This house is mine." We argued because apparently I didn't value his suffering enough. I don't know why I kept talking about the house. I guess I'm disposable. I'm 34, with a 4-month baby and a 4-year-old daughter. I don't have a job. I'm going to lose my dream home. I feel ugly, fat, and he's told me he's not attracted to me anymore because I gained too much weight during my last pregnancy. Edit. I'm going to talk with his mom and brother about the divorce today. I'm starting with them because they're close to me, and his brother went through a divorce over infidelity early last year. Also, his mom is very attached to me for obvious reasons. I was there for her during the worst part of her life, and his brother and I are also very close. I also texted my mom, and she's coming here to stay with me and the girl. I hope she gets the visa to visit, and my dad, who's American, Will be coming to my state in 2 weeks. Edit 2. I talked to his brother about the affair and he leaving. He told me to find a lawyer, the same thing you all said. Now we're talking to a few lawyers today. I accepted the help because I have the girls with me, so it's hard to do everything alone. Comments. Commenter 1. I think that your first reaction being about your home decor tells you everything that you need to know. Your relationship with him was dead, and now you can move on to better things. He doesn't deserve you or the lovely home you created. Commenter 2. He's 7 years older than you, but you are too old for him? He's a shit. I hope you get a good lawyer and take him for everything you can. Commenter 3. I read what you wrote. It's a story that will stay with me. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do know that when you decide to tell some friends and they help you find the right lawyer, you'll have more clarity. I hope the house remains your home. Commenter 4. I'm so sorry this happened to you. If you want the house, you'll need to fight for it in the divorce. Of your husband was even a little bit decent, he should leave it to you and your daughters so that the kids aren't uprooted. That's the least he can do for you. If he wants to go build another life he'll regret. You're going to need resolve and a plan. Get evidence of his cheating and start building your case. Reply. I'm looking online for lawyers, but I don't know what I'm looking for. Update. My husband is leaving me for a younger woman, and all I can think about is the house decor. Hi. I'm writing cause I feel pathetic, tired. I just want to skip to when this phase of my life is over. A brief summary of what happened this week, and I can't believe I love this man. My brother-in-law is staying at my house until my family arrives, and my best friend visits me every day. On Monday, my brother-in-law asked my ex to leave the house, and, strangely, he actually listened to his brother. Since then, he's only been tormenting me through messages. He wants an amicable divorce and keeps making proposals that only benefit him. I've been trying to stick to a routine because I have 2 children and they need stability, and apparently, I'm the only one willing to provide that. Yesterday, he texted me saying he wanted to see the kids, and I agreed. He showed up after they were already asleep. I swore he wasn't going to come. He arrived here at 11 p.m. with a document, wanting to talk about how he'd like to keep the house and pay me an additional amount for my share. I just stared at him without saying anything. I asked him to leave because the kids were sleeping. My brother-in-law added that it wasn't the right time or place to discuss this and asked him to leave. I don't know what happened to him, but this doesn't seem like the man I married. He yelled at my brother-in-law, saying he was betraying him, that he wanted to play house because his own marriage didn't work out. Then he yelled at me, calling me a lazy whore who wasn't going to take his money. He said this house was his and that his 22-year-old girlfriend, and told him I was going to try to keep the house he bought. We didn't respond. I just said he should leave because he was getting messy, and then he left. I don't know why he wants the house when he can afford to buy another one. And I don't understand how the person I married could try to trick me just to come out ahead in the divorce. I kept asking myself, if this is the man I married, he wants me gone. He wants the kids gone. He didn't ask about the girls, about his own daughters. He didn't see them or even ask to give them a goodnight kiss. To him and we're just an obstacle. Nothing more. I'm not even a person. Comments. Commenter 1. The 22-year-old wants the house. Reply. What makes me angriest is that it took me so long to get the house to look the way it does today. And now some girl comes along, and he just assumes I'm going to give my house to them. Reply. Commenter 1. He's an idiot, trying to impress, and is being manipulated willingly. And she's the type to insert herself into a marriage. Thinks she knows everything and wants to take something she knows will bother you. Commenter 2. Get a forensic accountant. He's hiding money. I can almost guarantee it. Commenter 3. It's time to get a lawyer, if you haven't already. Any communication going forward needs to go through your attorney. Document all the crazy shit he's been doing. It's good to have his own brother to back you up. Will help with custody. Reply. I spoke with many lawyers this week and like 2 of them. Stories number 4. Aita for ignoring my ex's request for a sit-down talk between him, his wife, and me. I 31F have 2 kids, 11 and 9, with my ex 33M. We were never married, and our relationship was never very good, so breaking up wasn't the worst thing that could have happened. For a while it surprised me that he left first. I always suspected his wife 32F was around before he left me. I know the 2 of them told me they were a couple less than 5 months after we broke up, and in that same conversation, they told me they were a team, and everything going forward had to include her because the kids would know her as their second mom. They told me to get used to hearing her called mom because they would not stop it and would actively encourage it. I brought them to court, and the judge added a clause about calling a step-parent mom or dad. This pissed them off, but they still tried to show off what they could do as a couple for the kids that I couldn't as a single mom. Ex's wife also told me that she would be the mother to their other siblings, and she was going to give my ex a bunch of babies, and that would win the kids over to her even more. She said she would be the preferred mom even if they never got to call her that. Or she said maybe they would and my kids would hate me for separating them if I got so jealous. I spent a lot of years documenting and trying to stay calm for the sake of my kids. We used a co-parenting app for communication, and they still sent messages through that about how she'd be favored and things like that. They were scolded a number of times over it. A few years ago, I put my kids in therapy because I knew they picked up on the issues between the adults. My ex's wife never got pregnant. I know I'll sound petty when I say this, but it made me so happy after all the gloating and said the kids would prefer her because she'd give them a lot more siblings. For a while, I noticed she was looking more and more depressed and desperate when no babies seemed to be born. Around July last year, my ex told me the kids would be with me for longer and he would work out a makeup schedule later. I found out 6 weeks later that his wife had tried to take her own life and was in the hospital, and that it was triggered by the news she could not have biological children. She and my ex also told people that it was made worse by my son not drawing her in a picture of his family that same day at summer camp. I filed with the courts for a change in the custody agreement temporarily, and it was granted. She had to complete certain steps for the kids to go back into the house with her. My ex and her were unhappy, but since they used my kids as an excuse, I did not want to take any chances with them. She completed all the steps and custody was returned to 50-50 in February of this year. Back in June, my ex suggested the three of us sit down and talk some things through. I told him anything that needed to be said could be done via the app. He said face-to-face was better, that they wanted to improve the relationships so that she could be an equal parent and family member to the kids. Both of them started info dumping about her inability to have bio kids and how it hurts her to know the kids don't see her as family. How they want us to put away the animosity so we can all be present and there for the kids, and that she realizes it won't happen while she hates my guts and wishes I would give the kids to her. I started ignoring the requests after first saying no because I do not think this will be a good idea and I do not trust them. They do not want us to do it over the app. The lucky thing for me is it's all in the app. And there are some concerning comments like they would hope I would let go of the no calling a step-parent or partner mom or dad rule and things of that nature. When I did not reply and agree to meet up, my ex started saying I was not putting the kids first and I needed to stop using everything against them in court. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, and if they don't want their actions to come up in court, they should stop doing obnoxious things that an authority figure can see are wrong. Reply. I wanted to reply with that, but I have decided not to engage unless it's actually something important to do with the kids. That stops any escalation and shows the court I'm not engaging in petty fighting. Commenter 2. NTA. I don't think there's any coming back after that behavior. You're also not guilty of letting your children down despite what your ex is saying, as it's in the children's best interest to not be around such an unstable people. Good call not meeting in person. They've proven themselves untrustworthy and horrid people. Keep communication strictly through the app. Reply. Thanks. I'm aware that it would be harder to document what happens if we did meet face-to-face, which is my #1 reason to avoid it. They could even pretend I attacked her so they could get custody. You hear of that kind of thing when people are desperate enough. Commenter 3. She blamed her suicide attempt on a 9-year child's drawing. That alone would require a few therapy sessions for your kid. NTA. Reply. Luckily, he didn't hear her say it, and he still doesn't know, but it made me WTF and rush to my attorney so fast. Commenter 4. NTA. Honestly, I would take them back to court. This lady doesn't sound stable, and your ex is enabling it. And I say this as a woman with infertility. Reply. I'm waiting for them to give me enough for the court to act this time. I don't want to keep spending money for them to get warnings. My biggest worry is about her stability being around my kids. Stories number 5. My husband has become unrecognizable since our wedding. MYF 27 husband M 27 has become almost a different person since we got married this past year. For instance, while on our honeymoon, he blatantly flirted with a waitress in front of me. Never before had he crossed a boundary like that, let alone on our honeymoon. In the moment, I was kind of caught off guard. I was shocked and started second-guessing myself. He couldn't actually be flirting with her. I didn't say anything at first, telling myself I was being dramatic and overprotective, but when she told us we just had to come back to see her the next day before we left for the next stop on our trip, and he made it a point to go, and not only stop in and have a drink, but to see her specifically, I knew he was flirting. So I waited a couple days and I called him out on it. He was flustered. but he admitted to it. I was shocked. I decided to not be mad, but to keep it in the back of my mind. Maybe it was a weird one-off thing? We were in a new country, but a couple months later we were out for drinks, and again, he is flirting with another waitress right in front of me. But this time I called him out on it. He denied it, saying he was just asking about her pants, but then follows it up with insulting me. I spent the rest of the night crying in the bathroom. Things at home have been off. I haven't been happy. I feel like I do all the work, and he only pitches in when I ask him to. But he expects all the husband benefits. I don't even feel like we have a friendship anymore. To make matters worse, he's been making offhand comments about what I've been eating. I've always struggled with my weight. This has never been a secret. A week ago, we were celebrating my mom's birthday at my parents' house. I got up to get a snack when he very loudly asked, "Are you really getting a snack?" My mom scolded him and told him I was allowed to eat whenever and whatever I pleased. I got my snack, but not without feeling judged. And then again 2 nights ago, I decided to have a snack after dinner, and he made a very similar comment. He never before has made comments about what I've eaten or when or how much. I do not recognize him anymore. Comments. Commenter 1. When I got married a million years ago in 1990, my husband started being verbally abusive that was so out of character. After our baby was born, he actually shoved me one day in public. When I called him out, he said, "You have a baby. What are you going to do, divorce me?" Then he laughed. I threw his sorry ass out. "Yes, asshole, I will divorce you." He totally disappeared from our lives in 1994, and me and my son were just fine. And you will be, too. Commenter 2. He felt he has you trapped and can let his mask drop. You're now going to learn the true man you married. He isn't a good egg, I'm sorry to say. He is abusive. Commenter 3. Seen a lot of stories like this, essentially a bait and switch. Sounds like he thinks now he's got you locked down, he doesn't have to behave or show up as an actual partner. If he is your forever, he should never make you feel like this. Though people do make mistakes, the difference is they accept and apologize for hurting your feelings at the bare minimum. Reply. I'd appreciate an apology. He thinks I forgot. He doesn't even apologize. He just tries to defend and deflect and tell me why I'm wrong. I don't know the last time he really apologized. He even burned me last week, and he didn't actually apologize. Stories number 6. My 40M wife 40F wants to disown her daughter 19F for dating a woman. My 40M wife Laura 40F have been together for 10 years, married for 7. My relationship with Laura has always been great. She had a lot of pain from her ex who emotionally abused her, but she was always the kindest person I knew. I fell for her pretty quickly and knew almost right away I wanted to marry her. Laura has a daughter, Riley 19F, from her previous relationship. I didn't meet Riley until a year into our relationship, and she did not warm up to me right away. She has a complicated relationship with her dad, who has been in and out of her life and resented her mom dating at all. I tried to be understanding, didn't try to fill a father role in her life, and gave her space. Things were especially hard for a few years after they moved in with me about a year into our relationship. Riley acted out a lot. She broke anything I'd give her, was getting in trouble at school a lot, and constantly told us both that she hated us and wanted to live with her dad. Her dad would not take her and barely even paid any child support though. Riley still blamed Laura and I though, and this caused some issues between us, but I loved Laura a lot though, so I put up with Riley's outbursts for her, and we made things work. Eventually, when Riley was 14, her dad got remarried and basically cut her off completely, which devastated her. Laura and I did our best to support her. We got her into therapy and took a trip to cheer her up, and after a while Riley started to improve. Her grades went up, and she stopped getting in trouble as much at school. I tried to be consistent. I went to her soccer games, helped her with homework, and over time we developed a better relationship. Things have been great since then, and the three of us have become a family. I wouldn't change a thing about our dynamic. The thing is, last week Riley came to us and confessed that she was bi, and she wanted us to meet her girlfriend. I have no issue with her being bi. Told her that we were proud of her and were sure that we would love her girlfriend. I started making plans to have a dinner with all of us so she could meet the family. My wife, though, was just quiet the whole time and staring at her daughter. My wife comes from a really religious household, so maybe I should have known, but she had always seemed fine with LGBTQ+ people. I guess she is one of those people who is fine with gay people existing as long as it's not one of her family. She just told Riley to get out. The room got quiet. Riley and I looked at each other, and I saw Riley was on the verge of tears. Her mom started yelling her. She called her some really awful things and told her that she didn't want to look at her. She said that unless she went to a religious conversion camp that Riley had to get out of the house, and she wasn't welcome here. At this point, I finally jumped in. I told Laura to stop, that we were not going to kick Riley out for being who she is, and my wife started going off on me now. She told me that I was betraying her. Choosing a sinner, I don't want to write what she actually said over her, and that unless we got Riley fixed, she wasn't family anymore. I told Riley to go to her room, and that Laura and I had to talk. I tried to talk Laura down, but she wasn't hearing it. She is adamant that she wants her daughter out of the house. Not only that, but she wants to cut Riley off completely, take back the car we gave her, stop paying for her classes and therapy. She actually blames the therapist too, and me for wanting to get her into therapy in the first place. I tried to tell her that would leave her own daughter vulnerable, but she doesn't care. She actually hopes that when Riley hits rock bottom, she will come back, and then we can pay for her to go to a religious conversion camp. I'm strongly opposed to these kinds of camps, and I told Laura as much. We didn't get anywhere in our conversation and went to bed without resolving anything. I got some reading material for Laura that I thought could help, but she refuses to look at it. She isn't budging on this and wants to kick out her only daughter. I don't think I can support this. I'm not even sure if I can look at my wife the same way. She was always so loving, but seeing how hateful she can be to her own daughter disgusts me. How can I help Laura accept her daughter? And failing that, how do I help Riley? I'm worried about her. She has been extremely depressed and crying since last night. Edit. Thank you all for your comments. They made me realize what matters here. I don't think I care about the marriage anymore. I just want to help my stepdaughter. Can I legally force my wife to leave the house? It's a premarital asset in my name. Any suggestions on how to have a talk with Riley and what to say so she knows I will support her no matter what would be great? Does anyone have any ideas on what I could do to cheer her up? Should I be trying to force some kind of reconciliation between her and her mother, or would that just cause more damage right now? Literally anything you can think of that would make her feel better would be amazing. Also, just any parenting advice for a 19-year-old girl. I think I'm about to become a single father unless my wife does a complete 180, but I don't have a lot of hope there. Quick update. My wife went to go stay with her parents for now. She still isn't budging and thinks I'm betraying her because I'm siding with Riley. I don't know if our marriage can ever recover, but I made my choice and I don't regret it. Had a talk with Riley to let her know that I will support her no matter what, and she is always welcome in my home. Like some said, she started blaming herself for the marriage issues, but I let her know I couldn't turn a blind eye to my wife's views on this regardless, and I'd rather know and get divorced than live in ignorance. We are having a movie marathon tonight and ordering some pizza to cheer her up. Her girlfriend is coming over dinner Sunday, and I'm looking forward to meeting her. Riley is having a rough time. There's been a lot of tears, but she let me know how much it means to her that I've always been there for her. I don't think she will want to see her mother for a while, if ever, which surprised me. Comments. Commenter 1. And failing that, how do I help Riley? Start with supporting Riley. Keep doing what you are doing and be consistent and supportive with her. But you may also need to recognize that your home is not a safe space for Riley while Laura is there too. It may actually be better in the short term if one of them leaves. How can I help Laura accept her daughter? That's not an overnight fix, unfortunately. And given that she grew up in a really religious household, it's going to take time to untangle. You need to be resolute in your own morals and values here, and that truthfully may come at the expense of your relationship. Reply. Yeah, it's hard to process. Just the other night, we were curled up on the couch watching a movie, and I was thinking how amazing my life was. Now I don't even know who I married. Reply. Commenter 1. I think you need to be clear about that. You do not recognize her, and that this is a huge moral difference where you do not agree with her and will not compromise on with her. I honestly would be more inclined to ask Laura to leave for the time being. Commenter 2. I would not want to be married to someone who did this to their kid. Reply. I know. I thought the same thing. She's never been like this. When she was yelling that night, it was like a different person had possessed my wife. Stories number 7. AIDA for having another play date with a mom my MIL didn't like. The title is a little misleading, but that's essentially what happened. I'm also not sure our ages matter, but I am 44F. My daughter 6 has a sweet friend, a boy we will call Luke. Luke has 2 older siblings, but they're not relevant to the story really. I also have 2 more kids, an 11-year-old son and a 2-year-old son with Down syndrome, JP. We had a play date a few weeks ago at our home with just Luke and his mom. Katie unsure exactly how old she is, but I know she's in her 20s. Well, obviously JP couldn't just go play with the other kids. He cannot walk, he cannot talk. So he was with me and Katie in the living room. While my two older kids and Luke were playing, Katie and I were talking. And while JP can't talk, he makes noises, grunts, etc. Whenever he would do this, Katie would sort of make up something he said and say it for him. Like for an example, I was talking about JP and said he gets chatty in the middle of the night, and JP started grunting, and Katie looked at him and said, "No, don't worry. I don't believe her anyway," which I laughed about. It was funny. My Emile stopped by to grab something and stayed to chat for a bit. She noticed that Katie interacted a lot with JP. She asked Katie who she knew that had Down syndrome, I guess assuming that she knew someone. And Katie told her that she actually didn't know anyone aside from a little boy she went to church with as a child. My Emile seemed put off by this and leaves eventually. The next day, she came back over and asked my daughter if she had fun playing with her friend. My daughter says yes, she loves playing with Luke. My daughter runs off to play, and my Emile looks at me and says, "Well, at least she got to do it once, and not to have them over again." I stared at her wondering why, so I asked her what she meant. She said Katie was too obsessed with talking to JP for someone who has no experience with Down syndrome children. I was thrown by this because to me it was refreshing. Most people forget JP is there, pretend he isn't, or focus on what's wrong with him. Katie treated him like he was any other 2-year-old. And so did her son, although he was a bit more confused as to why JP wasn't speaking. But he never said anything about it, which leads me to believe Katie has made sure to teach her kids not to point out other kids' differences. My husband is away for work for a while, and my Emile has been my support while he's been gone. And she essentially told me she's not willing to keep helping if I have another play date with Katie and her kids. Which is a problem because they're supposed to come over again in a few days. They've come here both times because it's easier for me and JP. My Emile thinks I'm exploiting my son to make a friend. I don't think so, but I do want to become friends with Katie. But I don't think she was too interested in JP. Comments. I truly don't have friends outside my husband's family, not because of control issues. My family lives in another state, and I can't see them much. And making friends is hard when my time is taken up with my kids' activities and JP's therapies. And I can't just take JP just anywhere whenever I want. It is hard sometimes. It gets lonely. And adding on top of it the "I'm sorry" I get all the time, and the "I don't know how you do it," and I couldn't handle that. And my favorite one, that must be so hard for your other kids to not have as much attention that leads to feeling guilty for days afterwards. It was nice to meet a mom who was willing to come to our home for our comfort and also didn't say all the things that make me feel like I'm uncomfortable spending more time with them. I just didn't want to think I was exploiting JP just to make friends with someone I enjoyed being around. JP doesn't act fearful of her, and she's never said anything to suggest to me that she resents him. But I think I will ask my oldest son tomorrow if he's heard her say anything or interact differently with JP when she's babysitting. She also thinks it's weird for me to want to be friends with a mom so much younger than me, even though Katie's oldest is the same age as mine, and her youngest is the same age as my daughter. The only kids without a common age are JP and Katie's middle child. Update. So it's been a year. Luke and my daughter are in the same class again this year and are thrilled. We did have the second and many other play dates with Katie and Luke, and also Katie's other 2 kiddos. All 3 of Katie's kids are nothing but kind to JP, and every one of them takes time out of whatever they're doing to come hang out with JP every time. Her oldest son specifically can get JP going really good. He's 13, will carry JP around and push him on the swings with my permission. ETA, it was with my permission at first. Now he just takes his little buddy JP and heads right on out. JP and Katie's oldest have this bond that I can't describe. JP lights up when he sees his big buddy. When my Emile found out I was having the second play date, she was really mad. And she did in fact stop helping me out with the kids while my husband was gone. My husband was mad about her actions, not mine, and hasn't spoken to her since. She consistently has reached out to see if we need help with the kids in any way. It brings me great satisfaction to say that both mine and my husband's response has been no, you don't need to help us. Katie is helping us, because while I was so over-worried about if I was exploiting JP to make a friend, I felt like I needed to tell Katie I didn't need her help. Until I really did. And when I did, she showed up, and she showed out. And there hasn't been a day since that Katie and I don't talk on the phone or text more than just a "let's hang out here and there at this time" for the kids. Katie is my friend. And not only is she my friend, she loves my kiddos with her whole heart. And I love hers. And before anyone asks, yes, I have kept Katie's kids for her also. They are so well-behaved and respectful, it's such an easy yes. Thank you to everyone for your advice and kind words on the original post. My family might have lost my MIL, but we got a Katie. And that's worth a whole lot. Comments. He shows up and JP gets so excited, and then my child just gets carted around wherever we are for hours sometimes LOL. Her son carried JP around the zoo for 4 hours one day and refused to put him back in the stroller or let one of us hold him instead because the stroller can't get close enough like we can and he can see better if I hold him. He's definitely the sweetest and most empathetic 13-year-old I've ever met in my life. And you can tell it's not forced either. Her son gets excited to see JP too. It's so sweet. And I'm so glad that we get that. It makes me cry too if I think about it too hard because I can't believe it just fell into our laps because my daughter made a friend at school. Would it help you laugh instead if I told you that part of his reasoning I didn't include was that me and Katie are both way too old to carry JP for that long? I'm 45, his mom is 30, haha. One of us was greatly offended by his statement, and it wasn't me, haha. We love her husband who hasn't come up just because it's not relevant in what I'm talking about. But he and my husband have become very good friends also, and their kids. Stories number 8. My 24F future mother-in-law 50F wants to postpone mine and my fiancé's wedding by up to 12 years because his father is going to prison. So my future father-in-law has just had 2 more Class X felonies to his record and is looking at 10 to 12 years in prison. My fiancé and I have a 6-month-old daughter and have been planning a wedding that was supposed to be in September of this year. My future mother-in-law is trying to convince my fiancé to force me into postponing the wedding and even went as far as saying that we can't have any more children until her husband is out of prison so that he doesn't miss anything. I feel sick thinking about waiting 10 to 12 more years to marry someone that I've been with for 7 years already. I definitely don't want to postpone having more children just so that he doesn't miss it. Am I insane? I mean, my daughter could be 12 by the time she sees him again, and I'm not waiting 12 more years to grow our family. We already have a venue, my dress, invitations have been sent. I have family flying into town. I may be selfish here, but I just don't feel as though we should be punished just because his father decided that being a criminal was more important than watching his first granddaughter grow up and watching his only son get married. I just feel as though he should have been thinking of his family. My fiancé has a sister that will turning 10, and she could be 22 by the time he's out. Should she not graduate or go to college or get her license so that her dad doesn't miss it while he's serving time for his 6th felony? I just don't know how I'm supposed to tell my future mother-in-law. Absolutely not. I will not wait 12 years to do what we've been planning for years and to give my daughter a sibling someday. TLDR, my future father-in-law landed himself in prison for up to 12 years. His wife wants me to cancel my wedding until he gets out of prison. Quite frankly, I don't think it's fair. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Nope. You and your child come before his father. Your fiancé should know that by now. She is acting like a small child throwing a tantrum. Life goes on. Maybe you can move it up so he can see it before he gets incarcerated, but that's your decision. I did move my wedding up so that my 90-plus-year-old father-in-law could be there. He passed away less than 2 years later, and having him there was wonderful. This is your husband's conversation to have. Reply. He's already been arrested. We are waiting for his sentence to be decided. We find out next week. The only way we would be seeing him is through a TV screen, talking through a phone. Commenter 2. What were the felonies? And his 6th felony? WTF? So his career is basically being a criminal? Reply. Basically. He has no career. He has income though, which is drugs. Commenter 3. Considering he only got a 12-year sentence for a Class X felony, I'm inclined to agree. Reply. On the upper end of 100 to 200 grams of cocaine. Update. I spoke to my fiancé about this, and he had no idea that his mother was planning on this. I basically stated it as a you're not really planning on agreeing to this, are you? And I got a hell no. In return, he basically said he doesn't even plan on visiting his father and said he needs to deal with the consequences of being an idiot. He's going to plan on telling his mother to fuck off. The end. Update. Fun facts. No, this is not made up. The fact that I would make this up is ridiculous. But anyway, not my point. This will actually be the 3rd extended prison sentence he has had since my fiancé was born. So my MIL of all people should know that life doesn't stop when you're married to a criminal. My MIL told my SIL that she was planning on asking us to hold off, and my SIL is the one who spilled the beans to me. The reason I was worried that it would be an issue is because my SIL told me very nonchalantly, "Oh, Mom is going to ask you guys to postpone the wedding until Dad gets out." She really doesn't want you to have another baby because dad would go crazy that he missed it. She said it so calmly and normally, as if to tell me that this was an average request. My fear was that my fiancé would agree because if his sister seemed so unfazed, maybe he would too. I wasn't sure how their lives were while his father was in prison the first 2 times. He doesn't like talking about it. So it made me feel like the insane one to think that her request was absolute bullshit. Sorry for the missing info. I have a 6-month-old who gives me about T-15 minutes to use my phone. So I didn't get a Chavez to reply to the 1,000 messages in my inbox. My fiancé has talked to his mother and basically stated that it's not happening. She's going to have to deal with it. There's no way we are waiting, and he plans to not visit his dad. That's really when she blew up. He didn't say much of what was said after that. Just told me that it was taken care of, and that was that. TLDR, fiancé talked to her and told her to fuck off. Stories number 9. Whipta if I don't invite my sister to my wedding because she announced her pregnancy at my engagement party? My sister announced her pregnancy at my engagement party last month. I'm talking full announcement, like literally made a speech about her exciting news right in the middle of my celebration. I was hurt, but tried to be gracious in the moment. Later, I told her privately that I wished she'd given me a heads up or chosen a different time to share the news. She said she was too excited to wait and couldn't understand why I was upset since there's enough joy to go around. Now my wedding is in 3 months, and she'll be 7 to 8 months pregnant by then. She's already making comments about how she'll need special accommodations, a seat close to the bathroom, and wondering if we can move the ceremony time because of her energy levels. But more than that, I'm genuinely worried she'll find a way to make my wedding day about her pregnancy. She's been doing it at every family event, steering every conversation back to pregnancy topics, posting constant updates on social media. My fiancé thinks I'm overreacting, but my mom agrees that Kate has a history of needing to be the center of attention. Would I be the asshole if I don't invite her to my wedding? Technically, she might not be able to go to because of her pregnancy, and it seemed to be the only option left, or I will cause a scene at my own wedding. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. You can tell her due to your extreme concern about her special requirements that you can't possibly meet, you are leaving her off the guest list to ensure the health of her and her baby. Commenter 2. Just be honest. There will be no special accusation, as you are not invited. I'm sorry. You already made my engagement dinner about you and your pregnancy, and I am not about to give you the opportunity to do the same thing at my wedding. I truly hope this doesn't affect our relationship going forward, but that is on you. This day is supposed to be about me and my husband, and you have shown by your past behavior that you cannot be trusted to make the day solely about me and my husband. You tend to make yourself the center of attention. I am truly sorry it has come to this, but I feel I need to be honest with you about why you aren't invited. Too much water under the bridge at this point. Stories number 10. My girlfriend rejected my proposal because I don't make enough money for her. I proposed to my girlfriend of 4 years 2 days ago. I teased the idea of it with her a few times, and she seemed keen. We have regular date nights. This time I made it more special. Brought her shopping and got her loads of stuff. Nice dinner. And then we had a walk on the beach at night. I proposed, and she told me to get up, and that I'm making an idiot of myself. I asked her why not, and she literally ran away crying. I sat on the beach for a while to calm down, because I was really sad. I went back to the car, and she was there. I tried talking to her, and she said we'd talk at home. When we got home, she kept dodging the question and saying it isn't the right time. But she was obviously lying. She eventually told the truth and said she had always wanted to get married to someone rich. She wanted to be carefree and taken care of financially and to be spoiled. I asked, do I not spoil her enough? Do I not satisfy her with what I get her? And she said I do because she knows I spend a lot on her, compared to what I earn, and she doesn't want to feel guilty every time my partner buys stuff. But she also asks me for stuff off her own back and doesn't reject the gifts I get her, or ask how much they were, or seem concerned about how much I spend or her at all. It just seems like an excuse. The way she was talking made me feel like I was just a placeholder until she found someone who fit her preferences financially. So I asked her if I was just a placeholder until she could find some loaded businessman or something. And she started backtracking, saying that isn't what she meant and that I'm more than enough. But I don't know. For context, I earn a decent amount. I'm a regional manager for Sainsbury's, a supermarket in the UK. I manage 3 different stores, and I work long hours up to 50 hours weeks sometimes, and my hourly pay is decent. I'm not broke by any means. I make enough to treat her regularly, but that doesn't seem to be enough. She doesn't care I'm at work most of the time. She's never complained. I'm wondering if I'm overreacting. I work hard, and it doesn't satisfy her. I never knew she was like this. I thought she loved me, not my wallet. Comments. Commenter 1. This is a good thing. Feel the hurt now, but she's doing you a favor. Reply. Yeah, I know, but I don't want to believe it. Commenter 2. Yikes, I'm sorry. I hope you have running shoes. She doesn't deserve you. Find someone who will love you unconditionally. Reply. I thought she did. That's what hurts the most. For years we've been together, and I never noticed. Money is the most important thing for her in a relationship. Commenter 3. You're not reacting enough. You've wasted enough time on this girl. You are a placeholder. I think you know that. Move on. Reply. I didn't know if I was overreacting or not. So I didn't want to seem too upset just in case I was. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my girlfriend she's going to have to get over dirt if she wants kids. My 25F girlfriend, Amy 27F, is a wonderful person. She's very smart. She works in a clean room with computer chips and stuff. But she's also something of a germaphobe. To the point that she keeps her toothbrush in the hallway outside the bathroom in a zip-locked bag. Her apartment is always spotless. She showers twice, thrice a day. Even her car somehow never has any dirt on the floor. She hand washes all of her clothes as soon as she's done wearing them. It's both impressive and intimidating. I'm not the messiest person on the planet by any means. I don't have massive piles of unwashed dishes or a leaning tower of used pizza boxes or anything. But I'm not as clean as she is. I'm not against making some adjustments. But we've been talking more about the future now that we're getting serious, and I've come across a problem. Amy wants kids. Desperately wants kids. I'd like kids too. But she's never been around babies or little kids before in her life, and seems to think she'll be able to keep the house just as clean as it is now, and keep the baby spotless too. I'm the oldest of 4 and the oldest cousin of 9. I grew up around kids. I've been babysitting since I was 10. There's no such thing as a clean toddler, not for longer than 10 minutes at the very most. She thinks if we just work at it, we have a spotless house and a spotless kid. I told her gently that that's just not possible, and asked how she plans on handling diapers, vomit, frogs smuggled into the house, jam going everywhere, soup bowls tipped over for fun, spilled grape juice, nail polish on the walls, and the like. She insisted that the kids who do that are just poorly trained and don't have good boundaries. I told her that they're kids without fine motor control or impulse regulation, and accidents will always happen. And if she wants to have kids, she's going to have to accept that they're going to get messy, and our house will get messy. Amy accused me of not being supportive and trying to find excuses not to have kids with her, and trying to guilt her into being sloppier. This is dissolving into an actual fight instead of a discussion, and I'm starting to second-guess myself. Maybe my family was just excessively messy because we were rural and poor. Maybe my standards are too low, and we really haven't tried hard enough. It's very frustrating, and I want some outside perspective. Parental perspective especially. Comments. Commenter 1. Just when you think you've cleaned up all the poop and mess, you find a casual pile of vom behind a pillow. Reply. Ugh. Reminds me of the time when I found out that my littlest cousin found a loophole in potty training by piling cat litter in her closet and using that instead. Commenter 2. NTA. My mom was like this to an extent. We looked shiny and clean, and our house looked like a show home. I had to have my clothes just right, and my shoes unscuffed, and my room looking perfect. The illusion was more important than our lived reality. I grew up terrified of getting dirty and feel deep shame even now when my house is not perfect. Do not intentionally put a child in this position. They have to come first. They have to be allowed to get messy and make mistakes and play outside and not have to pretend to be a doll you just Lysoled. Edit. Also, as someone with OCD, yeah, there are some things I recognize here. She needs help, even if she isn't aware. Commenter 3. Dad of 2 here, you're NTA, and you're right. Messes are inevitable with kids. You can't work at getting a newborn to not spit up or not pee during a diaper change. Potty training exists, of course, but you're going to be dealing with so many accidents. So many late-night sheet changes. You'll find food on your kids in the weirdest, most random places. She needs to lower her expectations, or she's going to be horribly disappointed. Commenter 4. NTA, she has no clue at all. She thinks she'll just command little kids to be nice and clean. Has she met a toddler? Because they can and will do the fuck they want, and will do it in the most fuck you way just to spite you. Commenter 5. You are a cousin of 9. One of them must have a baby. Asked to babysit for a weekend. Then she will see. Reply. We live pretty far away from most of my family, but that's a very good idea. My coworker had a baby not long ago. She might be up for letting us watch him while she gets a break. Commenter 6. The fact that she said children that are messy are poorly trained is quite disturbing. It makes me think she'll be controlling and abusive as a mom if she only sees the kid as someone that needs to be trained. My dad treated me like a project that needed to be broken and trained to be the perfect human. I didn't meet his standards, ever, and now we don't have a relationship. I've left channels open for him to reach out if he actually cared, but he hasn't since asking if I changed my number. I have PTSD because of him, as well as from traumas that are directly linked to how he treated me growing up. There's a chance that her maternal instincts would kick in and change her perspective to a less harmful one. But if I'd ever chance it. And but I think it would be wise to go to therapy together and individually. If she's not willing, I'd break up and find someone else. Edit. I didn't realize they were both women. So the last bit that was there about her potentially sabotaging birth control was because I thought OP was a dude. Sorry, OP. However, that doesn't necessarily mean she can't still try to get pregnant or obtain a child through other means, if she really does want it bad enough. My opinion still stands that she shouldn't have kids until she understands that kids are their own people and are messy beings. But thank goodness she can't do it by accident. Reply. Yeah, the trained thing definitely gave me the ick. But the language we speak isn't her first language, so I thought maybe she'd picked a weird word for taught. But now I'm not so sure, and I'm very sorry your dad treated you so poorly. Stories number 12. Best friend just told me my fiancé cheated. Wedding is in 2 weeks. What do I even do? So last night my best friend of 10 years drops this huge bomb on me. She says she saw my fiancé kiss another woman during his bachelor trip a few months ago. She says she didn't tell me sooner because she didn't want to ruin things, but now she can't keep it in anymore. The thing is, my fiancé has been nothing but sweet lately. No weird behavior, no distance, nothing. My best friend has never lied to me before, but she also never really liked him when we first started dating. The wedding is literally in 2 weeks. Invitations sent. Guests booked flights. My parents have already spent so much money. If she's telling the truth, I can't marry him. If she's wrong, I'll have blown everything up over nothing. Do I confront him now? Try to find proof first? Pretend I don't know until I'm sure? I feel sick even thinking about it. What should I do? P.S. This is throwaway account because my fiancé knows about my main account. Comments. Commenter 1. Talk to not confront your fiancé. Get the story. Do not tell him the source of the information. Listen to what he has to say. Then try to make a rational decision. You must talk about this with him immediately, or there will be no basis of trust in the relationship. Commenter 2. Love this advice. Talk to not confront should be the slogan for all healthy relationships. Commenter 3. If I saw my best friend's fiancé kissing another woman, I would take a pic and tell her instantly. It's weird she waiting this long and didn't take any pics for proof. Commenter 4. She was the other girl. Commenter 5. Where did your fiancé go for his bachelor trip? Why would your best friend also have been there? Was she intoxicated? How certain is she that she saw what she's claiming? You need to get every possible detail from her before you decide your next move. Reply. He went to Las Vegas with a group of his friends from college. My best friend wasn't actually there for the bachelor trip, but she happened to be in Vegas the same weekend for a work conference. She says she ran into him at one of the hotel bars and saw him kiss a woman who wasn't me. She wasn't drunk at the time. She says she had one drink earlier in the night and insists she is 100% sure it was him. I asked her if it could have been a friendly peck or someone who looked like him, but she says no. It was definitely him, and it was not a quick or platonic kiss. I am going to try to meet with her again and get every possible detail before I decide my next step. Commenter 6. Ask her the place she saw them. Then ask a friend that was with him if they can recommend the hotel they stayed at to check if it was the place they were at. Commenter 7. Las Vegas has around 500,000 people in it at any given time. Not saying it's impossible, but it's a mighty coincidence that your friend saw your fiancé across a bar apparently kissing another random person. Especially for someone on a work trip to be hanging out at the same bars as someone on their bachelor party. I mean, first you're making an assumption that he really did do it, so put your odds on that, and then multiply them by the odds that she would also randomly happen to be there to see it. If you've never been to Vegas, there are like 10 bars at every casino plus the places that are actually just clubs. Update. Have read through so many of your comments and took a lot of the advice to heart. I went back to my friend and pressed for every single detail where it happened, what time, who was there, what they were wearing, everything. At first she got defensive, then she started contradicting parts of her earlier story. Eventually, it all came out. She has had feelings for my fiancé for a long time and did not want us to get married. She admitted she was jealous and thought she was protecting me from a mistake, but in reality, she was trying to sabotage our relationship. There was no mystery woman. There was no kiss. She made it all up. I honestly feel sick and heartbroken, not over my fiancé, but over losing someone I considered my best friend. We have known each other for years, and I never imagined she would do something like this. I told my fiancé everything. He was hurt, but also supportive, and said he is willing to cut her out completely for my peace of mind. As for the wedding, it is still on, but I am processing the fact that one of my longest friendships ended in such a toxic way. Thank you to everyone who encouraged me to dig for the truth before making any decisions. Without that advice, I might have made the worst mistake of my life. Comments. Commenter 1. All I can say is that this was the least worst outcome for you. Good luck with your wedding, and I hope you have a long and happy life together. Commenter 2. Best outcome. New life with husband and throwing out the trash on the way in. She has 2 weeks to recover before the wedding. She'll feel much better in 1. Commenter 3. So true in a way it's a blessing if she'd held out on her actions. Until the actual day, you could have had a very traumatic wedding, or later, when she is in all your wedding pictures. And you can't bear to look at them. You're starting a wild new life with a wonderful man, where you'll meet all kinds of new and exciting friends. Have an awesome wedding. Stories number 13. Am I overreacting for wanting to leave my husband after what he did while I was caring for my sick mother? I 25F and my husband 27M have been married for 2 years, together for 5. We married young, but we're both financially stable and ready to build our life together. We just started trying for our first baby. 7 months ago, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave her 6 to 12 months to live. She lives 3 hours away in my hometown, and as her only child, I knew I had to be there for her final months. My husband understood completely and encouraged me to go care for her. I moved back to my childhood home to help with her treatments, doctor appointments, and daily care. It was emotionally and physically exhausting watching my mom deteriorate. I was sleeping maybe 3 to 4 hours a night, managing her pain medications, and trying to make her comfortable. My husband and I talked every other day, and he seemed supportive of what I was doing. My mother passed away 6 weeks ago, and I came home after handling the funeral arrangements and settling her estate. My husband was loving and supportive during the grieving process. We started seeing a grief counselor together to help me process the loss and strengthen our marriage during this difficult time. Last week, during what I thought was a healing conversation, he confessed that while I was away caring for my dying mother, he had been seeing his coworker Emily for the last 4 months. He said he was lonely and that I had been emotionally unavailable even during our phone calls because I was so focused on my mom. I was completely shattered. While I was watching my mother die, holding her hand through chemo sessions, and grieving the loss of my only parent, he was building a relationship with someone else. He waited until after the funeral, after I'd started grief counseling, to tell me, which means he was lying to me while I was planning my mother's burial. I'm staying at my best friend's house now. I can't even look at him. Both our families are saying I should forgive him because caregiver burnout affects the whole marriage, and he was grieving too watching me go through losing my mom. They think divorce is too extreme given everything we've been through. But all I can think about is how alone I felt in those final weeks with my mother, and how he was actually with someone else the whole time. Am I wrong for wanting to end our marriage over this? Should I be more understanding of how my absence affected him? Comments. Commenter 1. Sorry to hear what you've been going through. As a man, I find your husband's actions simply inexcusable. This wasn't a one-off fling, but a premeditated cycle of infidelity committed whilst you were away caring for your mom. Family members probably on his side of the fence are insisting you forgive him. I don't think you should. I'm afraid that he has shown his true colors during a time of physical and emotional adversity. ND has betrayed both you, your marital vows, and shattered your trust. It's your call, and it will take a lot of strength not only to heal from the loss of your mother, but to have to deal with this shadow of infidelity. I divorced a former wife for infidelity. I was the last to know, but when I found out, I gave her a chance to end it. She abused that last gesture, that olive branch, and at that point, I lawyered up immediately and divorced her. I was 23 at the time, married at 19 years old, divorced at 24. If I had my time again, would I do the same again? I think I would lawyer up immediately. No olive branch, no second chance, zero tolerance. You deserve to have a good adult man by your side, who stands by you and is completely and unquestionably loyal to you. Take care, stay strong, and do whatever you need to do to preserve your peace in the coming days. weeks and months. Commenter 2. You are absolutely not overreacting. The person who is supposed to be there for you and make your life better not only let you go through such a massive event alone, but also consciously added extra stress and anxiety on top of the already overwhelming stress of losing a loved one. That's not a partner. My ex actually did the same thing to me when I was your age. He admitted 6 months after my dad died that he'd cheated while I was out of town. At the time, I was too depressed and overwhelmed with the process of grieving to realize how damaging that relationship was to my self-esteem. But now that I've been out of it for years and in much healthier relationships, I can clearly see how much my life improved by leaving him. Speaking from experience, there is no recovering from something like that. Even if you could recover the relationship, you have to do so knowing that he very likely will always be this kind of person. Can you live the rest of your life, or even the next few years with him as he is now? If your husband is anything like my ex, he's the type of person who needs constant validation from other people to be satisfied. That means that anytime there is a life event that takes your attention away from him for even a week, he will likely be seeking it elsewhere. Anyway, I'm so sorry that you are going through the same thing. Commenter 3. I am actually so mad for you right now and my heart hurts. That is betrayal. My mother has just been diagnosed with stage 4 lung and has been given 3 to 9 months, so I know exactly what you are going through. Watching your mother deteriorate and trying to love and care for her is emotionally exhausting and lonely. The fact that he is saying you were emotionally unavailable while you were grieving the loss of someone very close to you is a cop-out. Honestly, I would just leave. Maybe that's coming from a place of anger because that's how I would approach it. Please feel free to reach out. I am 29F. Commenter 4. What a load of crap. He made no effort to communicate his feelings with you. Just immediately jumped to another woman. He could have done so much more to communicate and get emotionally close to you. He cheated on you at your lowest point. Don't think for 1 second that he didn't sleep with her too. Clearly vows mean nothing to him. I would see a lawyer ASAP. Divorce is not too extreme for cheating. Edit. I am very sorry about your mom and all you are going through. Sending you some virtual hugs. Stories number 14. My daughter came out to her dad, and he's being a jerk. So last night my daughter 16 comes to me and says she wants to come out to her dad. She's been out to me for years, and I've always loved and supported her no matter what. I asked her if she was really sure. He has been outspoken in the past about being against LGBTQ. But I said again, I would support her. He freaked out and started yelling that she's a foot over and over and is still using it this morning in the house. Then she tried talking to him, asking him to love her for who she is, and he wouldn't respond, and then slammed the door in her face. It broke my heart completely to watch my baby stand there and the look on her face. Obviously, I'm going to leave him, but I would like advice on what to say to her today to be as supportive as possible. Who knows what he will say today when she gets up. I also ended up calling the police because we were both so scared. They couldn't do anything because nothing physical happened. Now he's mad at me for that and not talking to me. I reminded him that isn't a punishment at all. Haha, he can hate me all he wants. But I refuse to let him be mean to her. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Comments. Commenter 1. What a total ass. The fact that he's still doing this today is next level terrible. You're doing the right thing by getting her out of that situation. She's so lucky to have you. Maybe just remind her that his anger has nothing to do with her and everything to do with his own messed up views. Commenter 2. Please document everything that happened and go see an attorney today. Do not tell him or anyone else that you're doing so. Get solid legal advice on how to protect yourself and your daughter physically, financially, and otherwise before you make any sort of moves or tell anyone anything. As far as your daughter, talk to her again. Reassure her that you love her and you're so sorry she's having to go through this with her father. Remind her that you will protect her no matter what. And anything you can do to physically separate her from him today and going forward, as much as she wants, will be helpful, whether that's letting her use your car or letting her stay with friends overnight or taking her out to eat. Whatever you can do. Stories number 15. Am I in the wrong for not wanting to get back with my ex because my brother said so? Hey everyone. I'm really trying to make sense of the absolute movie I've been thrown in. For context, I am 20 and I was dating my ex-boyfriend, 21, for 2 years. My ex is my brother's best friend from childhood, so I basically grew up with him. I always had a crush on him, but only did something about it after high school when we started dating. He was my world. We were perfect. There wasn't a day he wasn't by my side. I really loved him. 2 weeks ago, I found out he cheated on me with a girl at a party. He came to me immediately afterwards crying and asking me for forgiveness. I shattered. Literally shattered. Like glass. I didn't even respond. I grabbed my keys and left him in my own house. My brother called me a few hours later saying he heard what happened and tried to comfort me. We talked for a while, and I told him that I'm breaking up with him. He said that wasn't a good idea. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not a good idea that I break up with a guy who cheated on me. He complained that my ex was his best friend, and he would be really bummed if I broke up with him. Like what? I told him I really didn't care. I didn't even think he'd still want to be friends with him after finding out he cheated on his sister. Anyway, I'm not getting back together with him. Don't get me wrong, I loved him a lot, but he cheated on me, and that's a level of disrespect I will never tolerate. My brother and I are not on speaking terms, and my mom is kind of on his side. She said that he's just defending his friend. But I'm literally his sister. There's a lot more that went on in between, but I don't want to make this post too long. Let me know if you want me to go into more detail. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. So, who's your brother cheated on? You know kind stays with kind. Reply. You're not wrong. But honestly, my brother has never been able to keep a talking stage, much less a girlfriend. However, if he does end up cheating on someone, I won't be surprised. Commenter 2. NTA. Because of brother's actions, now he gets to share the award your ex already gets. You are 100% in the right, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Honestly, your brother's actions are worse than your ex's MO. As a brother myself with a younger sister, that is a sacred bond he broke. I am so sorry you are dealing with this. I seriously hope he realizes he effed you up and makes things right. Reply. I agree. The worst part is that this is absolutely not like him. We used to be super protective, and all throughout high school he'd threaten to beat up any guy who came near me. I don't know what happened. Commenter 3. His friend is known, so you deemed safe? He didn't need to wear the mantle anymore? Playing the stereotype of in high school brother? Was it love or obligation? Reply. Honestly, I really did love him. I had a huge teenage girl crush on him all throughout high school, but I was scared it would get complicated or he'd reject me. I'd even write about him in my journal. It was really embarrassing. Commenter 4. Was your brother with him at the party? By the way, in TA, on the other hand, your brother is an ass. This is the kind of stuff you remember for the rest of your life. Reply. He wasn't with him at the party, and quite honestly, I don't think there was a party. I think it was just a scapegoat. Update 1. Hey again. So some of you wanted me to go into more detail, and some of you had some questions about my brother and how he felt about our relationship at first. I'll start with saying that when I told my brother, who is 22 BTW, I was breaking up with his best friend, he was angry. I mean, like really mad. He kept telling me that I was trying to hurt his best friend and have him deal with a bummed out friend and whatnot. Obviously, I was taken aback. He then went to go tell on me to my mom. My mom called me really upset. She said that I should stop working my brother's nerves and all kinds of nonsense. I told her the full story because obviously my brother didn't. I told her how my ex cheated on me. All she said was, oh, then hung up, hadn't heard from her since. I won't lie, my mom has always favored my brother, but I excused it as a boy-mom thing. She's never neglected me or treated me badly before. She just had an obvious favorite. I've also never been one to do the most for anyone's approval. A few of you had questions about my brother too, like if he was a cheater too, and if he approved of my relationship in the first place. For the first question, my brother is a loser. He's really immature, so naturally girls don't want to spend a lot of time with him. I've told him several times that he should grow up or he'll be single forever. So, to answer your question, my brother has never even had the chance to cheat. As for the second question, my brother found it awkward at first, but then he got over it. Plus, me dating his best friend meant he'd practically see him 24/7, so I guess he didn't mind that much. He just didn't like the PDA and all that stuff. There isn't much to update on. My ex has tried and failed to contact me. All my friends have blocked him, and no one is giving him any of my info. He's even tried contacting my boss. My brother is still insisting I talk to my ex. I continue to tell him to leave me alone. My mom is radio silent, and honestly, it's for the best. Will I get over this? Sure, but it'll take some time. I don't think this is something to get therapy over, but it'll need some healing. Thank you for all your lovely comments and messages. It's comforting to know there are people on my wavelength who understand that cheating is loser behavior and tolerance for it is even weirder. Relevant comments. OOP on being grooming. Reply. I don't think I was groomed. I had always had a crush on him. He never really seemed interested in it, much too busy being a boy, plus we're only a few months apart. We spend most of the year being the same age, so I don't think so. To be honest, I wouldn't be able to point out whether it was grooming or not, but I don't think so. Commenter 1. Do you live alone? I suggest you reach out to your brother and tell him how hurt you are about him putting his best friend above you, his only sister. Let him know you will be going low contact. And if he still tries to suggest you forget that your ex cheated and to get back with him, you will cut his out from your life. Also text your ex and tell him to not contact you or your employer, and that if he does it again, you will report him for harassment. If you live alone, change your locks and then your number. Reply: I live in an apartment with a roommate, but I live close to home, so I visit often. I think I'll be limiting those visits too. Commenter 2. Thanks for the update. I hope your mother comes around, but I wouldn't hold my breath. She is likely fully on your brother's side, which is a shame, considering that would put her on the same side as your cheating ex. Where's your dad in all this? Still into screw cheaters and everyone who defends or sides with them. Reply: thanks for the comment. Unfortunately, my dad passed when I was really young, so he's not in the picture. Update 2. Hey again. I contemplated posting this for hours because it's just so much and so little at the same time. Edit. I want to preface this by saying that I'm 1000% not getting back together with anyone. I'd made my decision from the beginning, and they can try all they want, but it's not happening. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented and messaged me offering support and advice. It really means a lot to me. I stalk this sub often, so the community means a lot. I spoke to my ex again through text to tell him to leave me alone and stop trying to contact me. I also told him to come get the stuff he left at my apartment. He went on to tell me that he needed to tell me something, that he said he needed to tell me the truth. I did not respond, but he kept texting anyway. He proceeded to tell me that he made everything up, the cheating story and everything. Obviously, I didn't believe him at first, but then he went on. However, you guys need to understand that I really love this man and have for years, so there's a part of me that wants to take his word for it. Anyway, he told me that he planned the whole thing with my brother, like it was some kind of sick prank. Who does that? He called it a test. A test? For what? He told me to call my brother and tell him to tell me the truth. Keep in mind that all of this happened in a day, by the way, so it was crazy. He went on and on about how much he still loves me and how he wishes he never listened to my brother. I felt physically sick. It felt like whiplash. A few hours later, I called my brother and told him to open up, just to see his reaction and if I'd get a similar story from him. Surprisingly, his story was somewhat similar, except he made it look like he was just told to keep up with the lie rather than being part of the planning. He also told me that he was urging me to get back with my ex because he knew that nothing really happened and we would have broken up over nothing. I still think that is very stupid. I really don't know what to think. Who is telling the truth? Why did I need to be tested? Why the hell am I still in love with this jerk? A lot of questions and no answers. A few of you had some issues with my mom, and they're all justified from a young age. I knew she had her favorite, but I am very likable, so if I wasn't getting her attention, it really didn't bother me. I know that sounds cocky, but it's the truth. We talked, and she told me that she hadn't known that I was cheated on until I told her and gave me a curt apology. I also don't know if she's telling the truth. She also told me that she scolded my brother for lying to her and hurting my feelings, as if that was meant to make me feel better. Anyway, our relationship will continue to strain anyway, so I'd rather not focus on that. Some of you asked where my dad is in all this. Unfortunately, my dad is no longer with us. He passed away 12 years ago, and it still breaks my heart. I was always told that I was the apple of his eye, and his world didn't seem complete until I was born. I carry him with me everywhere I go. I find comfort in the idea that he would have stuck up for me right now. I love him so much even till this day. I'm currently typing all this very late at night because I've been pondering all day. This has practically consumed my life, and I'm sick of it. It also doesn't help that my town is relatively tiny and everyone from my graduating class already knows everything. I'm more fed up than I am sad, but I won't let it bother me for too long. But seriously, can whoever is controlling the TV show that is my life give me a break? Thank you all for reading. I really appreciate it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The prank story is a lie that your ex and brother came up with as an excuse to get you back together. Stick to your guns and move on with your life. It will not get better, only worse from here. Commenter 2. 100%. Original story says he came to her crying. That's pretty good acting for a prank. Even if he was actually lying for a prank, doubt it. Why would you stay with someone who would manipulate you and play with your feelings like that? How could you possibly trust him again? Reply. That's exactly what I told him. Why would he put so much effort into it if it isn't true? Commenter 3. OP, it sounds like you have no support in your town or from your family. Quietly look for a job somewhere else. Then disappear without telling anyone where you went. Start fresh, without all the judgment. Reply. That'll be kind of difficult considering I go to school here. My town isn't a problem, I'm more upset that people outside my circle already know about it. I'll definitely be getting out of here after I graduate though. Commenter 4. Phew man, what a wild update, haha, do you know the girl he cheated with? I'm like, this is all verifiable, very easily, haha. Regardless, I'd stick to your guns like everyone else is saying. Reply. I considered looking, but I felt it was pointless, and also I really didn't want to know what she looked like. I'm a black woman in a little white town, which I love, but I feel like it would hurt if I knew he cheated on me with someone who looked nothing like me. Final update. My brother asked me to get back with my ex, and I said no. Hello everyone. I wasn't going to post anything else regarding my situation, and the only reason I am is because quite a few of you have come into my DMs in the past week defending my brother and saying I'm a horrible person, and now you're in my comments. First thing, my brother is a loser, my ex is a loser, and my mom does not like me. I do not have to respect or tolerate any of them. I quite honestly could not care less whether that makes me a horrible person. I'd be a horrible person 100 times over before I let someone disrespect me like that. I don't know you and you don't know me, so to make an assessment on my character based off a post leaves much to be desired from yours. Second thing, I've come to realize that anyone who supports cheaters are just as bad as they are. This includes my mom, my brother, and all the incels in my DMs. I want nothing to do with any of you, so be gone. Lastly, to the people who genuinely cared about my well-being and would like to know how I'm doing. I'm great. To no one's surprise, the whole prank thing was a lie, and I actually found out who my ex cheated on me with. I know that should feel like closure, but it doesn't. I just want to move on and graduate and get the F out. Thank you for all the kind words of encouragement, and to all the older siblings who reminded me that my brother is not the norm. This will be my last post. I just want to clear things up for all those who are interested. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, yay. Congratulations on graduating when you do. And then take that space that will make you feel better than anything else. Your family and ex-boyfriend will be left behind to fester in their fucking bullshit, and you will be living your best life. Reply. Thank you so much. I literally can't wait. Commenter 2. How did you find out? It's perfect timing. Soon you will start a new chapter of your life and leave all this shitty people behind. Clean start. Reply. One of my girlfriends found her. She's a real detective, lol. Stories number 16. IDA for posting a picture of my stepdad walking me down the aisle. I 23F have a very strained and rocky relationship with my bio dad 45M. When I was young, he cheated on my mom 45F and basically abandoned me and my little sister, Belle 21F, for his new wife, Amanda 35F. My mom remarried to my stepdad, Jason 48M, when I was 2 years after my dad left, and Jason has been more of a dad to us than my bio dad ever was. My bio dad didn't come to my wedding. So honestly, I don't even know why I'm typing this, but here we are. I recently married the love of my life, Daniel 24M, on August 1st. The day was magical. Jason walked me down the aisle, and it meant so much to me. We went to Hawaii for our honeymoon, and when we got back, our photographer sent us a sneak peek of our wedding photos. Obviously, I posted a few, including one of Jason walking me down the aisle. An hour after I posted, Belle called me and asked me to take that particular photo down. She said our dad had called her, saying it was disrespectful to let another man walk me down the aisle. She told him, well, you weren't even at the wedding. He apparently responded with, I would have gone if she'd let me walk her down the aisle. For the record, there was absolutely no way I was going to let him do that. He hasn't been there for me in years, and Jason has been the one who's actually acted like a father. Now Belle says I'm being petty and rubbing it in his face by posting the picture, and some extended family have started making comments about how I shouldn't air family drama online. I don't see how posting a photo from my own wedding is airing drama, but now I'm wondering if I'm missing something. Comments. Commenter 1. Of course you're NTA. I would even double down on this and post a follow-up thanking your stepdad not only for walking you down the aisle, but for being there for you raising you. Any of your bio dads flying monkeys who call you can be blocked. Commenter 2. NTA. And your dad did walk you down the aisle. Just because he's not related by DNA doesn't mean he's not family. As you said, bio male was MIA. Jason stepped up and took over. That's a true parent. Reply. That I know. I do call Jason my dad. Just for the sake of not confusing people, I used his name. I just feel guilty in a way, YK. Commenter 3. NTA. I was a stepdad who took on 2 young kids after their father left after cheating on their mom. I raised them as mine and was lucky enough to walk them down the aisle. Your bio dad didn't even attend the wedding. You did nothing wrong choosing the person who raised you. Reply: I know this isn't related to the post what I'm about to say, but I'm so grateful for people like you and my dad Jason. Your kids must really love you. Update: AIDA for posting a photo of my stepdad walking me down the aisle. I ended up speaking with both my dad and Belle about the whole situation. First, with Belle, I told her to stay out of it altogether. I said if she's on our dad's side so much, SHE can have him walk her down the aisle at her wedding. I also made it clear that I'm not going to punish her for still talking to him, but I'm also not going to pretend he's been a father to me when he frankly never was. She didn't have much to say after that. Then I called my dad. That conversation went about how you'd expect. He started with, "One day you'll understand," and that I needed to learn respect. I told him cheating wasn't respectful, and neither was abandoning your kids, and that he hasn't been there for me since I was 10. Jason, however, has been there every step of the way, and he is my father to me. That's when my dad hung up on me. LOL. Amanda then made a passive-aggressive Facebook post saying, "No matter things that happened in the past, you'll always be family." I'm about 99% sure that was about me, but I digress. At the end of the day, I'm still not taking the photo down. I don't want to make Jason upset if I do, and he deserves to be celebrated. I'm not letting my bio dad rewrite history just because it makes him uncomfortable. Comments. Commenter 1. Go you for standing your ground. Family isn't always blood. It's those who show up and stand by you. X. Commenter 2. People get so entitled around weddings and babies. I'm proud of you. Commenter 3. Oh my. NTA, and you're fine. Bio dad is upset that this makes him look bad? To damn bad. It's not your job to protect his reputation. If his past actions reflect badly on him, oh well. Commenter 4. Good for you. You should tell Amanda, no matter the future, once a deadbeat and a cheater, always a deadbeat and a cheater. Stand your ground and keep honoring Jason. Stories number 17. Aita for digging into my brother's girlfriend's past and telling him the results. My younger brother, Adam, had a rough childhood, to say the least. Our father passed away when he was under 10 from cancer. Our mother is likely bipolar, but definitely narcissistic tendencies and abusive. I'm older by a decade and did what I could when I could for him, but basically I failed to protect him and didn't understand what he needed. All that to say that his descent into alcoholism wasn't a surprise. It was expected. A couple years ago, he had an incident that caused him hospitalization and began his recovery and sobriety. He's over 2 years clean now, hugely due to the new relationship he started months after his incident with a kind-hearted, lovely woman. I'll call her Eve. He brought Eve over to meet us shortly after they met, and she's been a welcome part of our family. She makes gifts for my kids and treats. She's always fun to speak to, and her quirkiness fits in beautifully. As we got to know her, we've learned about how traumatic her life has been. They're kind of trauma bonded, but she's so understanding and empathetic. She told us about her twin who passed away in high school, how her siblings and parents loved him more and treat her badly as the survivor that was always less than. She also had another brother who passed away in war in Iraq. That was the golden child after her twin passed. She couldn't seem to gain her mother's approval or attention, and we bonded over those feelings of not being wanted or good enough. She told us she was originally from Scotland. Her father was a sheep farmer who moved to America to buy a cattle farm because of the cowboy movies, so she has dual citizenship. She also said because of this, she spoke 16 languages. She worked at a college and had multiple degrees too. Overall, she was incredibly nice, took good care of Adam, and seemed super well educated and proper. Sometimes she had her Scottish accent too, because she'd been around her family. Then she started to tell us about her past relationships, 3 divorces. One was from a person who had gender reassignment surgery. The other passed away by his own hands, and the last had attempted to take her life, shot her, and then had ran from the cops to a ditch where he passed away. She showed my kids the scar. I felt like after 2 years of knowing her, she was a great fit. So last week, when they had a bad argument, I tried to reassure Adam. I had him come over to talk, and he told me that she had lied to him about not speaking to a friend of hers anymore. Some guy who was apparently a popular guy in high school. She lied because she didn't want to believe he wasn't a good guy, because she's had so much bad luck with men. Adam was struggling to move past the line, but wanted to work it out, and I support him in whatever he does. I talked to my husband about it, and he asked the most basic question. How does she have a high school popular kid here in town if she was raised in Oklahoma on a cattle farm? Honestly, I have PTSD, so my brain sometimes gets mixed up. I assumed I was wrong. It turned over and over in my head, though, for a couple days. I finally caved while my husband played video games and began a casual search into her. Googled her name and her address came up. Then I realized her history of addresses were all in America, all going back pretty far. So I checked her parents, and their addresses went back in America to before she was born. I was so confused I Googled them and found recent obituaries of her grandparents on both sides. They're all from America. And they only mentioned 3 kids by her parents, ever. Obituaries usually list preceded in death, and these do, but no grandkids in that list. No additional brothers of hers. Not only that, but she lived at the same address her whole life in Kansas. I looked it up on a map and found the high school nearby and searched the yearbook. Found her 12th grade. No twin. Okay, but he passed away, so I checked 9th grade. Also no twin. The deeper I dug, the more proof of the lies. Only 2 marriages on record, both still alive. One did change names from male in the marriage to female in the divorce, but that seems to be the only true thing she's ever said. It's absolutely shocking. Finally, my husband said I had to tell Adam. I was against it, and then as the pile got larger, I said it was an in-person conversation. He insisted it needed to be done, so I put it all together into a document and messaged Adam. I asked a few clarifying questions about the twin and the ex-husbands. I apologized and provided the information to him and hoped I was wrong. Within 10 minutes of sending it to him, he said that she admitted everything to him. He's absolutely lost now. 2 whole years, so many lies. I'm just baffled. Why? Like if they ever got married, it would have unraveled so quickly. As it stands, she's been able to keep him away from her family by allowing them to disrespect their age gap. He's noticeably younger than her. She refused to go to an uncle's funeral earlier this year because she claimed he was a predator. I hate questioning that, but maybe she just didn't want Adam to find out that her uncle was born and raised in Kansas, not Scotland, and so was her dad. She was here with my kids, having them feel the bullet-wound scar from an incident that never happened. There's no criminal records for either of the exes. There's none for her either, thankfully, but good Lord. I wish I could put the cat back in the bag on this one. Why lie? And why didn't I check her background sooner? I literally checked the kids my kids date in high school to make sure their parents aren't on a registry or anything. I should have checked her much sooner. Now the life and family they were building is in ruins, and I'm terrified of him losing his sobriety. I'm feeling really guilty for looking it up and telling him too. Not sure I did the right thing because he's heartbroken. Ada? Comments. Commenter 1. She told us she was originally from Scotland. Her father was a sheep farmer who moved to America to buy a cattle farm because of the cowboy movies, so she has dual citizenship. She also said because of this, she spoke 16 languages. Not being funny, but how does having dual citizenship with the UK bestow upon her 16 languages? Did they plug her into the Matrix? She worked at a college and had multiple degrees too. Please be less gullible going forward. Life is full of bullshitters, but the beauty of them is they're easy to spot because they always go too far. 16 languages, multiple degrees that haven't turned into anything, 3 divorces? Who has the time? Reply. While her degrees did turn into something, she worked at a college the time, and when that job ended, she's now working as an engineer. If you work at a college, they let you take classes free or reduced. She probably has some of the degrees, and she could have taken the language classes. There's people famous here for learning lots of languages, and she called herself a polyglot. I have a friend who is learning Japanese with a tutor, and she talked about different tutors she'd used in programs too. It seemed legit, but obviously everything she said did, and it was all lies. She's old enough to have been divorced 3 times as well. Seemed like tragically bad luck or poor judgment, but being raised by a narcissist with traumatic childhood made me give her grace and assume she was targeted for being too nice. I really want to argue that I'm not gullible, but I have to explain this to my oldest kid when they get back from a trip next week, and the only explanation is that I was incredibly gullible. My oldest kid is also super fond of this woman, and I know it's going to hurt. Commenter 2. You didn't even dig really. You spend 20 minutes with Google and TA, but now I really want to know what's going on with her. That said, these are the kind of people that don't cope with their dream life imploding well, and your brother is in the blast radius. Please keep him safe. Reply. Well, it was about 4 to 5 hours. It takes a lot of connecting family members and addresses to find the right obituaries and such. I did it for both sides of her family, and then the yearbooks are saved with pages you have to individually flip. So I went to the last page and scrolled forward to the index. Go the list of places she was pictured. Noticed she had no sibling, no same last name, then scrolled page by page to the class photo for the link to attach to the list for him. Going through the court records was time-consuming as well because of registering for it, and then opening every single file because I don't know what the case numbers mean for each state to know which ones to skip. She's small and has a lot of medical issues, which is I say that maybe so doesn't. Geez. Well, she claims a lot of them. He's about 10 years younger, over 6 feet, and over 200 pounds. I call him my little big brother because he's very Viking. He's safe, I think, and she's caught red-handed. He also works nights, so after their talk he left and won't be back until this morning. I warned him the meltdown could be huge, but he said she was just super remorseful. He's debating on if he stays with her because it was just for attention. He loves her, and this is really, really messed up. Update. To catch up, brother's girlfriend of 2 years was lying about her past. From the traumatic passing of a made-up twin, made-up older brother, 2 ex-husbands who are still very much alive, a made-up ex-fiancé, and a made-up loss of a child, made-up assault during their relationship that she used to control him, to inventing having multiple degrees and speaking 16 languages. When I posted, I had uncovered some of the lies and forwarded him the proof. She had come clean immediately and taken him to visit her parents to explain it. She has untreated borderline personality disorder apparently. My brother, who I called Adam for this, is a recovering alcoholic with a huge heart. He was absolutely determined to stay with her and not toss her aside for being human. He thought this was the righteous and noble thing to do, to not discard someone who is struggling or damaged in their time of need. My husband and I were determined to support him regardless of his choice because we love him. She told him she could never be around us again and she was scared of us. We assured him that we would never be rude to anyone he dated and that we were more than capable of being around her. I genuinely think when she realized that we weren't going to let her isolate him by pretending like she had a reason to fear us, it was over for her. It lasted only a week after our dinner with him, where we showed him unconditional support and reminded him that he was the victim repeatedly. The following week, she went out with friends to a bar. He asked where she went and with who. Since this whole thing started because she was lying about not hanging out with some jerk that didn't respect my brother or their relationship. She said that she didn't have to show Adam anything to prove where she had been and that SHE can't heal like this. She expected to play the victim to him, as if him asking for accountability and transparency was him being controlling. Then he said that he can't be in a relationship where he can't trust someone she was clearly hiding who she was with and where she was. In response, she gave him 30 days to move out. So, this weekend we are moving him into his own place. He's, of course, still reeling from the whiplash of whatever the heck the last 2 years of lies have been with a woman he thought he would marry. He has a strong support system, though, and he's absolutely going to get through this. He's even quitting smoking during this, which I could not imagine trying to do in this level of choice, but he is determined. Thank you everyone for the advice and support. Please don't be gullible like we were, and if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Comments. Commenter 1. Just in case you didn't know, you fucking rock. The way you are your brother's keeper and have his back 100% is great. She knew she wasn't going to be able to keep playing him with you in his corner, and that's why her ass had to go. Congratulations on getting this dirtbag. See you next Tuesday out of your brother's life. Reply. Thank you for saying this. I felt like such an asshole for snooping, and even more so when it started to unravel her lies. He is genuinely heartbroken and he didn't deserve this, so I am working hard to make sure he has everything he needs for this move and he doesn't have to stress as much. I'm really glad he is taking it as well as he is, and that he doesn't seem to hate me for it. Sometimes delivering the bad news makes you part of the problem because people can't separate the hurt. I just want him to be okay. Commenter 2. I'm so curious. What were the 16 languages? Reply. Well, she claimed to be dual citizen with Scotland, so she said all the languages from that area, as well as obscure ones. The ones I remember were like Scottish, Gaelic, German. Obviously not Spanish because we would have immediately caught that lie. She must have memorized phrases in each language because when asked, she would recite some things that sounded like they were appropriate. It was just like a random factoid she'd say, and the kids would ask her to say a cuss word or something, and we'd move on in the conversation. I never got a complete list, but I absolutely should have asked for it. Commenter 3. You are wonderful. I welled up a bit when I read about her attempt to isolate him from you, and responded beautifully. I have faith your brother will be fine with someone like you watching out for him. I'm the son of an alcoholic, and we both know there's a good chance he might relapse, but I can't imagine you being deterred from caring for him. You might not have a cape, but I know what you are. Reply. Thank you. He is genuinely the kindest, sweetest man, so protecting him and helping him is the least I can do. He's literally the kind of uncle that despite working nights will come to a noon graduation party to celebrate his niece and make her feel seen and loved. He plays video games with my boys and encourages them as they play. He's just such a great person and he means so much to us. She was dumb to think he didn't have support, just because he never asks anyone for anything. I've always got his back. Stories number 18. 37F, 40M. Together 8 years. Wedding is in October. I just met his work friend, and my gut says there's something there. Yesterday, my fiancé 40M took me to his work party. It was my first time meeting a woman who, I learned, helped him get his job. During a group conversation, me, him, her, and another male coworker, I noticed his body language was directed toward her the whole time. He looked at her more than me with a few lingering stares, and it wasn't how he behaved around any other female coworkers I met that night. I had a strong gut feeling there was attraction. Later, I asked him directly if he was attracted to her. He said no, but admitted she's cute-looking and like a little sister. He also said that even if we weren't together, he wouldn't be involved with her. I told him attraction to others is normal, but what I saw and felt didn't match his words. Honestly, the little sister comment made me more uneasy because I've heard that used as a cover before. My frustration isn't that he might find her attractive. We all notice people. But that he's insisting there's nothing to worry about when I saw what felt like very real, mutual chemistry between them. I feel like he's lying to me and maybe to himself. We've come a long way in communication, but there's history. In the past, he's denied things I observed, only to admit them later and apologize. He knows this and has improved. But this situation brings up old insecurity. My gut feeling has never been wrong, and we're getting married in October. I do not believe he is cheating on me. I just do not like when I clearly observe chemistry only to have that be denied by my partner. I am not sure if I'm looking for advice or just to get this off my chest. But right now I feel unsettled and unsure how to fully trust what he's telling me. Comments. Commenter 1. What would being settled feel like for you in this scenario? If he admitted he's attracted to her, what would happen after that? They still work together. He took you to the party and didn't treat you like you weren't his girlfriend. You're focusing on his glances and his body language, and I understand that 100%. I think the question is what will make you feel secure. If you keep asking until he says, yeah, I'm attracted to her, then what? This sounds like a pattern you guys have developed, and I think it's quite unhealthy. Insisting to someone that they are attracted to someone else until they start thinking there is not a good way to enter into a marriage. I think you guys should postpone it at the very least. Commenter 2. How much time does he spend with her? Do they have lunch together every day? Do they talk to each other all the time or after work? Do they see each other after work? Did they date previously? What's their history? How much time are they spending that he feels so close to her, without realizing how obvious the attachment is? All of these questions I would be asking. Commenter 3. I have a pair of coworkers who have a kind of siblings chemistry. They are inseparable. They are both jokesters, and when they have to work as a team, you better watch out. I am sure they would go to the bat for each other's. Yet, I am 100% sure there is absolutely zero sexual feelings between them. They have amazing chemistry, but it's entirely platonic. They are both happily married. Once they leave the workplace, they go back to their lives. They don't even hang out outside. They are both nurses, by the way. And after 2 decades in the field, I know a cheating nurse when I see one. So, sometimes, you can have great chemistry without anything nefarious behind it. Stories number 19. Me 28F with my old friend 28F 9 years. We used to be close 9 years ago. I tried to reach out and was ignored. She starts talking to me now because she needs a favor. My old friend, L, I knew in university. We were dorm neighbors. We got along pretty well, and she was my best friend for those 8 months. Then in the summer, she and some other friends got a house without me, and I dropped out of school. Being forgotten by them was a factor, but there were some other reasons that I dropped out. I tried messaging her on Facebook a few times to see how she was doing, but she never responded. She started messaging me the other day, and I was delighted until like 20 minutes into the conversation, she asks if she can crash at my house when she is going to be in town next week. I don't know what to do. I'm not busy that day, but I can't shake this feeling of being used. I want to say no, but I don't want to feel like a bad person. TLDR, what should I do and say to my old friend that wants a not huge favor after not talking to me for 9 years? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. Personally, it would irritate me a bit that somebody who couldn't be bothered before only wants to speak to me because they want something. Trivago is a pretty good place to look for a hotel room. OOP. Part of me wonders if she never got back to me is because she is a pretty flighty ditzy person. That's also why I feel bad about saying no, because she's probably doesn't have extra money to spend on a hotel last minute. Commenter 2. Meh. She sure as hell wasn't flighty when she wants a free place to stay though. Her financial problems aren't your concern. Commenter 3. Nope. She thinks she can pop in your life when she needs something. Not okay. Tell her sorry. I can't have any guests right now. I'd love to hang out while you're in town though. Edit. Assuming you actually want to see her. Update. I read all of your comments and on my last post here, and I wanted to believe her that she wanted to be friends again. I didn't mention in my last post, but her reason for coming to my city is to go to a school orientation thing, because she is moving here in the fall. And I had reconnected with a different friend after they moved here, and I thought it would turn out okay. She invited me to the school thing with free lunch and brought me some gifts bagels from where she was traveling from a place known for bagels. I thought all of you guys were biased because you didn't know her and how like hippie she can be sometimes. Very go with the flow, creative type. So she shows up 2.5 hours late at midnight. We talk for a bit and it's nice, but TBH I'm miffed because I am very sleepy as I was busy all day cleaning and baking her fresh banana bread like the sucker that I am. She takes a shower and goes downstairs, and then me and my boyfriend, who she had to ask the name of. Like, you couldn't just look on Facebook before you came. We have been dating for 3.5 years. We get ready and notice a big gob of toothpaste on his toothbrush, and we feel the bristles, and it's wet. No, she couldn't be using our toothbrushes. I must have just gotten them wet when I was cleaning up or something. We wake up and go to the thing. It's kind of boring, but like, I don't have anything else to do, and there's free food and whatever. We walk around campus for a bit, and it's all right. We talk about our lives, and she forgets very important details about my life, a big trip coming up in a week that I told her last night. I give her a tour as it is the school I graduated from, but she is not listening. But whatever, I'm kind of used to being ignored anyways, so I just enjoy my free food, and then we go home. We chill for a little bit, but she's hinting that maybe she could live at my house in the extra space I have when she's at school. I say probably not, since it would be a weird third wheel situation, which she is also moving out of now. See, I listened to her life stuff. She mentions that she thought she lost her toothbrush yesterday, but then she finds it in the car. I'm now 99% sure she used the toothbrush. She leaves and whatever, it's over. I regret it, but I helped someone, and that's good, right? Then, I open the bagels. They are rancid. They smell like a forest floor. I look at them, and they are covered in blue mold, and my stomach turns. I am retching at the smell of these bagels. So now I am just furious. And I hate to say it, but you guys were right. Relevant comments about the toothbrush. Commenter 1, right? Or say you forgot it and just buy a new one for like $2. Commenter 2, or ask your host, hey, do you have a spare toothbrush? I lost mine. Plenty of people buy a few extras when they replace their toothbrush, and it doesn't hurt to ask. Reply, this is exactly my thought. I even had an extra toothbrush in my purse because I went to the dentist on Wednesday. Commenter 3, OMG, the part about the bagels. How disgusting. At least you know it's not you, and she's just a horrible person and a user. Commenter 4, she probably had them laying around her house before she left and thought, why waste the food? Reply, before I noticed the mold, I offered her one the next morning, and she said she didn't think she could eat a whole bagel. She had been driving for 6 hours and then slept for 7 all without eating. You can't eat a whole bagel? Commenter 5, reading updates like this doesn't give me a feeling of I told you so. More so, I hate it when I'm right. Commenter 6, I don't feel satisfied. Just somewhat annoyed that she asked for advice, got advice, disregarded it to the extreme, and then the expected happens. Reply, I did kind of leave out that when she asked me last Saturday night, she said she might need a place to stay. It wasn't a for sure thing. She said she would know more by Tuesday. I was a little drunk at the time, and I thought, oh, this might be fun. But then the next day I was like, this feels kind of sketchy. Then I made the first post on Tuesday, but then I felt like I had left it too late to back out. I mean, in hindsight, I could have turned her down, but I thought that going back on your word was worse than saying no from the get-go. Top comment. Commenter, consider this an asshole tax. Now you can also unfriend her on Facebook, and her messages will just go to your others box, and you never have to willingly let her invade your space again. Also, she knew she was being shitty. She didn't care. Stories number 20. Aita for getting my colleague in trouble for calling me his work wife. Some time ago, I-29F was assigned by my European-based employer to work on a project at our US location. Part of my assignment was training a new hire within my special area of expertise. This new guy is about 10 years older than me and hired for a management position. However, he is in no way my superior, as I take on more of a consulting role with the local team. I noticed straight away that he is very outgoing and sociable, joking around a lot with his colleagues. Quite different from the men I am used to, as I come from a Northeast European country where the male stereotype can only be described as silent. He immediately took an interest in me and started jokingly flirting and complimenting my looks. This made me uncomfortable since we are both married, and I felt it was very inappropriate. It also made me feel as if he did not respect me professionally when comments like "you look so cute when you're serious" would interrupt my training sessions with him. The assignment itself was a big deal to me, and I wanted nothing more than to exceed expectations, which is why I was reluctant to bring this up and create drama. I tried ignoring his behavior, but the last straw for me was when he started calling me his work wife openly in the office. I understand that this term is used in a joking manner in US office culture, but we absolutely do not have anything similar in my home country, and if word would get around back home about this, I would have to explain to my husband why some random man decided to call me his wife. To avoid this, I decided I need to put an end to the casual flirting and jokes from this man. I sat him down one-on-one and told him, in short, that he has to stop calling me his work wife. He seemed like he understood, but I was maybe being too nice or vague in my approach towards him because he acted no different the following days. This made me frustrated, as I felt I now have to either go to my and his boss or risk this reflecting badly on my assignment or risk conflict in my marriage. I ultimately decided that my marriage is more important than my job and told my boss about my issue. Luckily, my boss took me seriously and told me that he would handle it and to stop worrying about it. I am not sure what went down after this, but the flirting and the compliments from my colleague abruptly stopped. I was relieved, but I also felt that my colleague acted very cold towards me after this all happened. I still successfully finished my training sessions with him and the assignment and relocated back home. Now, in retrospect, I am wondering if I overreacted due to the cultural differences between the US and my home country. Maybe what my colleague was doing was just normal social interaction, and I acted like a complete asshole, getting him into trouble with our boss for mere joking. Comments. Commenter 1. Congratulations on both completing your assignment successfully and shutting down a creep who thought he could get away with sexually harassing you. You're a hero. NTA. Commenter 2. NTA. You did nothing wrong. You approached this male colleague first and asked him to stop. You were uncomfortable. He did not stop. That is harassment. You did the right thing by reporting him. I bet other women he works with thank you. Commenter 3. That's not cute office banter. That's him ignoring your boundaries after you told him to stop. Cultural differences or not. Once you say "this makes me uncomfortable," it's game over. He had a chance to act normal, and he didn't. So you protected yourself, your marriage, and your professionalism. That's not overreacting. That's respecting yourself. Stories number 21. I am 32 overheard my wife F27 telling her friend she married me for my money. What do I do about my marriage? I married Katie when I was 28. I had just taken over the family business and was making really good money. She came from a pretty well-off family, but she always seemed very modest. I actually thought she was different than the other women I had dated. She didn't ask for expensive dates or nice vacations like many girlfriends had. We had a fairly small and affordable-ish $30K wedding. Moved into a decent home well below what we could afford. All things that pointed to her being in love with me and not money. After what happened last night, I do remember one time when we were engaged. I had brought up the idea of me going into law enforcement instead of the family business. She really was against it. She claimed that I should do the business for my father and keep him proud. I never really thought much of that, as she always has been someone who wants to please family. Last night, I went out for drinks with some buddies and Katie had a friend over. I got dropped off at the house and heard the women in the backyard. I was going to go say hi before heading to bed. Right as I was about to come around the corner, I heard Katie talking about her ex. I stopped to listen. She told her friend that Mike was her one true love. She said that she still wonders sometimes what they would be like together. She then said that she married me because she knew I'd always be successful and she wanted to be rich. My heart sank. I turned around and snuck into the house and went to bed. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I cried myself to sleep. First time crying since my grandpa died. I'm honestly not sure what to do. I love Katie so much and we are great together. But now I can't help thinking she would be happier with someone else. I don't want her to feel like she's settled. I want her to feel full in life. I want that for me as well, and don't think I can knowing she isn't in love fully with me. What can or should I do here? Edit. Feeling down and in bed. Could use conversation LOL. Stories number 22. AIDA for calling my husband's friendship with his coworker an emotional affair. Hi. My husband and I have been married for 2 years and known each other for 4. We have an 11-month-old daughter. Our relationship is great. We've been loving our experience as parents. There's just this issue that I thought I had resolved, but my husband's behavior is making me think I went about it in an ahish way. Around December of last year, he had referred a woman he knew from his college days. I'd asked him back then if they'd been close friends. He had said they were kind of friends, not close enough to make plans to hang out together, but close enough that they'd hang oi if they saw each other. I was like totally fine with that, obviously. Anyway, she got the job and works in his office, fortunately in a different team. Their friendship seemed to have been blossoming, which again was fine, although it had been intruding into his time at home. Often he'd get texts and smile and respond, and it would be from her. When I'd casually ask what she said, it wouldn't be anything scandalous, sometimes a shared reference from their college life. He took me to a restaurant near his office once as a special night out, and midway through I learned he'd been here before with her. We were about to argue, but he'd said it was just lunch, and I also didn't want to ruin our night out, but that's when I really started side-eyeing it. And then finally, when I was going through his phone for a number that he keeps in his contacts, she'd responded to him, and I just clicked on the notification and read some messages. She was complaining about the lack of luck on Tinder and was like going off about the kind of guy she's looking for. And now I don't really fully think she was making a pass, but just some things hit too close to home my husband. I told him about what I'd read. He didn't mind the reading. We both are very open with our phones to each other. He was like, "What's the issue?" And I said the kind of conversations and the frequency with which they were happening. Since they saw each other at work, went for lunch together, then had these kind of texts at home, it had become an emotional affair and he needed to cut her off. He looked like I'd slapped him. He argued back, really stressing the affair part that I'd said. I told him how stressed this was making me, and I needed all this communication outside work to be stopped, and later said at least has to be toned down significantly. He did agree to it, but made it clear how wrong I was in calling it an emotional affair. This happened on Thursday. He's been pretty cold since, like I don't think I've ever seen him act like this before. Yesterday, I was just cuddling with him, and he wasn't being soft like he normally is when we cuddle, and he told me he couldn't believe I called it an emotional affair and that he'd ended it, but this hurt not only him for being accused of an affair, but her too, who must think we're crazy. I was hurt, and our night kind of ended like that. Have I been TA here? If I have been, and in the reason our relationship has taken a hit, I'll fix it. Need a judgment. Relevant comments. Comment 1. So he had a friend, and that was the emotional affair? LOL, you snooped and found zero actual evidence, but still made the outlandish accusation anyways. He's never given you reason to doubt him, yet you did it anyways. He caves to your absurd demands, and in the end you are hurt. YTA. Reply. I wasn't snooping though. I was on his phone to find another contact's number. And I'm okay with the judgment, but just to provide context, he spends more time with her than his very close friends now because of their work proximity, regular lunches, and then the texts when he was home too. And then her pouring to him the kind of guy she wanted and him agreeing, like all that combined is what pushed me over the edge. Comment 2. You're jealous and controlling. There is no affair of any kind, and you were clearly jealous from the very beginning. YTA. Reply. Initially, she was just a friendly acquaintance whom he helped get a job. I absolutely had no issues at the beginning. Comment 3. Question. If this were a guy friend and every single interaction were the same, would you call that an emotional affair? I ask because it doesn't sound, from your description, that your husband is emotionally invested in this relationship more than he would be with some other friend. An emotional affair is typically when two people are acting as if they were a couple in all ways except for the physical. Things like being flirty, sharing deep feelings, coming to each other with their worries or hopes. It doesn't sound like your husband is doing that. Reply. I would call it a friendship that's infringing on domestic life if he was giving him time at home after 8+ hours at work. And like he has close guy friends whom he doesn't give that much time. And he'd told me she wasn't a close friend back in December. Like if he had, maybe I could have handled it better. Comment 4. Info, you never stated your ages. Reply. I'm 25 and he's 30. Update 1. Last night, when we were watching TV, his responses to me were still standoffish, which honestly was messing with me more than the actual texts and lunches. So I brought it up with him. I asked if he was angry at me still due to our conversation a week ago. He said no, it's fine, but I still apologized to him. I said using the phrase emotional affair was too much. I said it without realizing what it truly meant. That I couldn't ever imagine him being unfaithful and hurting me and our daughter that way. And I didn't say this to him. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but now that we have our daughter, I think I just thought whatever he had with his workplace friend had the potential of messing with the life and family that we had now. So I might have said more than I should have. We made up in the moment with kisses and watching TV. I also said that I appreciated how quickly he dropped everything with her despite any misgivings he may have had about what I was asking of him. He said no problem, and that he was glad he could be normal with her in less than a week, and she wouldn't be too weirded out by all of it. I felt uncomfortable by that, and framed it in the way a lot of commenters had suggested I frame it. I told him I was uncomfortable with how quickly and deeply his friendship with this single girl who was supposed to not even have been good friends with him had strengthened. He again brought up trust, that he was his college friend and all. I said I trust him, just tone it down. I want my daughter and me to be his priority, not some random girl. And I kind of broke down a bit at this point. I know some comments had called me emotionally abusive, but ISTG, this wasn't something I had planned. I asked him to just not have her be a strong presence. And he said he would tone it down, that he'd keep the friendship to the way it was initially. I'm glad I cleared out the emotional affair part of it. I didn't like to have accused him of it, and it really wasn't. I crossed the line there. And I want to clarify, I'm okay with him having women as friends. One of his close friends is a girl, but again, she doesn't get the same frequency of communication his coworker gets, especially when the work hours are factored in. Anyway, we made up after all of that, and hopefully we're back to the way we were before all of this. Thanks a lot. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm glad you made up, but there really is no reason for them to talk after hours and have inside jokes you know nothing about. If he had a problem with that, then there is a problem. Don't beat yourself up too much. Reply. Thank you. Like, yeah, it just bothers me, the frequency of all of it. And that's why I just had to bring it up even after I apologized, which was definitely due. And he said he'll tone it down to the way it was before all of this. Comment 2. Hope there are signs all over here. Can you look at credit card statements? See if he's paying for these lunches? And you seriously need to know how long they are. It sounds like a date to me that he's paying for. That money is out of your account. I would hire a PI to get your ducks in a row and to protect your daughter and yourself. I've seen this happen at places I've worked. Reply. We have a joint account, so I could if I wanted to. But like a lot of people in my first post said, I was snooping in my husband's phone. I just want to again clarify, him and I have zero issues with going through each other's phones for whatever reason. And her message had just popped up when I was on it. So I wasn't on the phone with the intention of collecting evidence. And even right now with the credit card, I don't even know what that would do. I'm positive it's not physical. It'll just cause the distance of the last week to crop up again. Comment 3. Girl, read these comments. That man is cheating. Reply. I've read the comments. I really appreciate all the input, but if I'm being very honest, reading the comments on this post is kind of pissing me off a bit. Last post the comments had correctly, I think, told me that maybe the phrase emotional affair is all that was the problem, but also that just an open conversation was needed, which is what I went into my convo with, and apologized for the phrase. And now the comments are different. I would have had a different convo probably if I'd read these in the last post, which just really align with how I'd been feeling back when I first accused him of an emotional affair. I didn't talk to my friend or my mom about this because I'd always been told to not involve others in your marriage. I thought asking here would not be an intrusion, and I'm deeply grateful for the help. I'd felt better last night than I had the entire week because we were finally warm to each other again. I don't think he's physically cheating or will ever. That is not him. That girl's sudden closeness was the only issue for me, which he'll handle now. Edit. Maybe I should rephrase when I wrote the comments on this post are pissing me off. I didn't mean to be rude. They're just similar to the way I was thinking when we had the fight, and I would have liked these comments to have been on the first post. I know that sounds ungrateful, but like it's done, the conversation is done, the vibes are good between us now, and I'll just wait and see. Comment 4. So he pouted until he got his way. Is he dismissive of you when you bring other concerns to him? The fact that his immediate response was that he can go back to normal with his coworker is a giant red flag. You need counseling. He needs to see that this isn't a normal friendship with coworkers. Maybe show him this thread. ETA. OP. I've read your comments about how you're upset with these comments because they didn't show up on the first post. Please know that you can open the conversation with your husband again. Hey, Can I please say something concerning the conversation we had earlier? Saying emotional affair might not have been the correct choice in words, so for that I apologize. But I do need you to know that I am upset and concerned that your first reaction was relief that things with your coworker can get back to normal. I feel like that reaction was dismissive of my feelings about the situation. And while I don't want to ever deny friendships to you, you being cold to me over a poor word choice hurts me. Then as soon as I apologized, you stopped being cold to me. Yet being professional with your coworker was a request too far apparently. As my husband, I need to know you're on my team. And right now I'm coming to my teammate telling you that this is concerning me. Reply, thank you so much. I'll consider this. I hate having to reopen it, especially when I know that my worst fears are irrational. Like I said, I do think the fact that we have our daughter and a family now may have spurred these thoughts in my head, but the extra comfort I'll get from it seems like it might be worth it. Thanks a lot. I'll try to have this conversation. Comment 5. There's nothing wrong with telling a partner your concerns. That's why you married them. They are your partner, and you made a vow to each other. It's not your daughter and the fact that you're a family that making you think this. It's his actions and responses. It's not irrational if it's true. What's more important to your husband? Your comfort in the relationship? Or the way his coworker feel about having less contact? Honestly, that shouldn't have to be something you question. Reply, I will be having another conversation. I'll probably be made fun of for this, for being 25 and a mom myself, and still having to go to my mom. But I spoke to my mom this morning and confided in her about how I'd been troubled. And she made me feel that this is worth taking a stand for, and that I shouldn't compromise my comfort. I know you shouldn't bring others into your marriage, but I did, wrong as it was. So I'll figure out how to have the next conversation, like when to do it. The next time I get uncomfortable, I'll probably do it. Stories number 23. My boyfriend cried in my arms tonight. How do we move forward? After a few too many drinks while watching a movie that had very triggering topics, childhood essay, my boyfriend began to get restless. First, he was making jokes and talking over the movie, trying to divert both of our attention away from the movie. Then he got quiet, not even responding to my comments during the movie. By the end, I looked over at him and saw that tears were running down his face. He tried to push me away and brush it off, telling me he's okay, just too drunk. But I insisted he tells me what's wrong and that it's okay to be sad in front of me. Next thing I knew, I had a 25-year-old man bawling into my chest as he recounted a very horrific childhood experience. I ran my fingers through his hair and just listened. I had nothing to say as I knew in that moment my words would be meaningless. He pulled himself together and then began to beg for me to not break up with him or get the ick from this, which was really heartbreaking. I promised I wouldn't, and then I tucked him into bed. So now I'm writing this heartbroken. In the morning, I know he will be very embarrassed and ashamed. He doesn't cry ever, and I know he's going to get anxiety because he just drunkenly aired out his darkest secret. How can I help us move on from this in the sense that he won't hold it against himself? How can I make sure he feels supported by me? I'm also concerned he's going to get a complex about his masculinity. He makes a lot of jokes regarding it, but I know it's a concern and role in our relationship. So how can I help? Stories number 24. My girlfriend is going on a sailing trip. Would this bother you? Here's the situation now. There are 8 people going on the trip. 2 of them are couples, so 4 people. Then there are 2 other girls, my girlfriend and another guy. Cabins have 2 beds, each 2 single beds pushed together to make a small double. The couples will each have a cabin, and these 2 girls know each other already, so they'll likely share a cabin. That leaves my girlfriend and this single guy sharing a cabin. When I found out, I honestly flipped out. I told her it bothered me, and her response was that she didn't even think about it when she planned the trip, that it's the only option, and that it doesn't mean anything, they'll just be sleeping in the cabin. I don't know if I'm overreacting or what, but this feels like a red line I can't cross. Even though probably nothing will happen, she barely knows this guy, like 3 hours total from one group dinner, and she has no idea what he's like with a few drinks or anything else. I just can't imagine a girl not feeling uneasy about sharing a bed with another guy. To me, just the act of sleeping in the same bed with another guy, even if nothing happens, is a total lack of respect. She should have planned this ahead of time to make sure it never even came up, or, if there was no other way, skip the trip. What's really interesting is that she's actually mad at me for being jealous because I told her this bothers me. Honestly, I think anyone would feel the same. I'd find it weird to sleep in the same bed as a girlfriend of one of my best friends, let alone my girlfriend sleeping with a guy she barely knows. What do you guys think? When you comment, Please say if you're male or female. I'm curious how women view this versus men. Edit. Sailing is 7 days long. Also, I'm feeling unwell about this because I already got cheated on. My ex-girlfriend went on Ibiza and had sex with some guys. Gave me STD when came back. Stories number 25. Aita for not rehoming my cats when my baby daddy's new wife is deathly allergic. I 24F have recently got new cats. My daughter 6 has always wanted cats, and she has an obsession with them and frequently says all I want in this world are cats. However, baby daddy S 25 new wife 25 is deathly allergic to cats and has been to the hospital once for it. I have multiple friends with cats and my daughter is frequently around them and plays with them, then goes over to baby daddy and wife's house, and there has never been a complaint of allergies. I was told by wife that she would start taking allergy shots and would be good to go in around a month's time. I found the perfect cat sibling pair from an adoption agency in my area, Adopt Don't Shop 3, and with the info on it being about a month, I had a friend agree to watch them in the transition period and would take caution in giving baths, changing clothes, etc. if my daughter did see the cats. Well, yesterday I let them know that she had come in contact with the cats briefly, but she was bathed and put in freshly washed clothes that had not been in the same house as them. I was told to still take her over to her grandparents' house for another rinse off and change of clothes just in case. After dropping her off, I received a call from baby daddy where he told me his wife could no longer get the shots since they just found out she's pregnant, so he would like the cats rehomed or returned to the adoption agency. My biggest concern is for my daughter, and I genuinely believe if the cats were taken from her permanently, it would be traumatic for how long and how badly she's wanted them. Not to mention the resent in her it would cause towards the wife and new baby, and that's just a horrible thing to do after giving a pet a new home after being rescues. Also, I would be effectively blacklisted from all rescues and agencies if I were to do that, and rightly so. I ended up getting another call the day after saying they were in the ER for hours, and spent a bunch of money for the visit and the cats need to be rehomed. But like I said before, my daughter has been around cats many times and gone over there, and there's never been an issue, and I find it hard to believe after 2 baths and clothes changes that it truly caused such a bad reaction that the hospital is necessary. It's also important to note that the 3 of us have not always gotten along, especially since the wife was my best friend for a while before I found out she got with him, so we were on very bad terms for a very long time. So I find it hard to give up something me and my daughter have been so excited, and I've worked so hard to get to a place where we can get them only to be told we can't because of their decision to have a new baby. So they're still asking the cats be given back or rehomed and making me feel like I'm the bad guy. Am I the asshole? Also edit to add they were both aware for a long time the end plan was to get cats ASAP. That's why she was going to start the shots. They were not blindsided by this plan, and I told the wife when I got them, and it was fine before they found out about the pregnancy. Edit 2 since for some reason I have to preface this. This was not in retaliation or out of spite or anything in that way towards wife. We just moved to a place that can have cats we couldn't at previous place, and I have been wanting cats since before I even knew the dad in high school. I do not think about them when I'm not directly speaking to them, so adopting cats was purely for the joy of me and my daughter, not to cause problems. And again, they knew this was happening, and there were no issues and cats were adopted, and they were informed they were before finding out she was pregnant, and the plan was fine then, so it was not me trying to make life harder for wife. Update. Aita for not rehoming my cats when my baby daddy's new wife is deathly allergic. Thank you all so much for your feedback and suggestions. I'm not going to be giving many details as it's now going to court. I ended up offering to feed the special food a bunch of y'all suggested for allergies. Thanks again. Use sprays, quarantine clothes, etc., and they told me they are not willing to even try those. The only option is to get rid of them. The wife has now tried and failed. They couldn't find a judge to sign it, LOL, to put a restraining order on me that states if I don't get rid of my cats, then I'm banned from seeing and having all contact with my daughter until I do. Obviously, this is wildly excessive, and I have an abundance of evidence and disprove the severity, and her claims I'm trying to harm her on purpose. My daughter let it slip the wife's parents have cats that my daughter pets when they go to visit. Oops, but even more so when I talked to my psychiatrist about this at our last appointment, she felt that my cats were necessary to my anxiety disorder. We have talked about me getting ESAs for a while now, so she wrote me a note, and they are now officially my legal support animals. This should take care of the restraining order. However, I was also served with papers, as many of you guessed, trying to take my daughter from me. Apparently, the wife has been keeping a calendar of all the days I've had my daughter versus her. She started this calendar before they were even engaged. Wild. To try and show they should get my daughter since they had her more on paper. However, this is due to the fact I was needing to save up some money in order to put down the first and last month's rent, etc. at my new apartment, so she offered to help as much as I need and encouraged me to pick up extra shifts so that I would have my finances in order. She now is using those times she helped against me and saying I can't care for my daughter on my own with the job I have. I'm honestly sick to my stomach that I've tried so hard to be the bigger person, constantly put up with their shenanigans, and crossing boundaries with a smile on my face for the sake of my daughter, all to be once again stabbed in the back by the both of them. They don't really have a case, and I have a lot more on them than they have on me. So I'm not worried, just disappointed that people are truly this evil even after you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Stories number 26. I answered a phone call from my mom, but she was sitting right next to me. This happened last year, but it still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. I was visiting my mom for the weekend. We were sitting in her living room, both on the couch. She was reading something on her tablet, and I was scrolling on my phone. Out of nowhere, my phone started ringing. I looked down and saw it was my mom's name and number. Same contact photo, same number I've had saved for years. I literally laughed and said, why are you calling me?" She looked up, confused, and said, "I'm not." I put my phone on speaker and answered, thinking maybe it was some glitch or butt dial. But on the other end, it was my mom's voice. It sounded distant, like she was on speakerphone in a big, empty room. She said, "Hey, where are you?" in this casual tone. I froze and looked at the real mom sitting next to me. She looked pale and whispered, "Hang up." I did. The call log showed it came from her exact number. We immediately checked her phone. No outgoing call, no missed call, nothing. Later that night, I tried to joke about it, but she admitted something that made it worse. This had happened to her before. Twice. Once with her sister's number, and once with her own house phone calling her cell. Neither of us have an explanation, nor I'm not sure I want one. Stories number 27. Neighbor stole my son's basketball and gave it to his kid as a birthday gift. Me and my son were playing catch with a basketball in our backyard. We recently moved into this house because my wife was assigned to work in the area. While we were playing, my son accidentally threw the ball too hard, and it landed in our neighbor's backyard. We rang their doorbell, but no one was home. Later that afternoon, when they returned, we told them what happened. They said they would look for the ball and give it back if they found it. A month went by, and still no ball. When I asked again, they claimed they never found anything. I just gave up and bought my son a new basketball. A few weeks later, we were playing again when I saw a kid in the neighbor's backyard holding our old ball. I asked him about it, and he told me his dad gave it to him as a birthday present last week. That present was clearly my son's ball, the same one they told us they could not find. I felt bad for the kid because he thought it was a gift, so I let him keep it. But the fact that my neighbor took something that belonged to my child and passed it off as a present to his own kid is beyond entitled. Stories number 28. Woman stands in front of salads and gets mad when I reach for one. This happened years ago, but something recently made me think of it. I went with a friend to Publix, a grocery store, on our lunch break to get, well, lunch. For those of you who don't know, Publix has a food service counter where you can get handmade subs, fried chicken, and a few other hot food items. We get there, and the line is too long, and neither of us wants to wait in it. So we decide to just grab some prepackaged food. I go to the prepackaged salads, and there is a woman waiting in line for the food counter, standing sort of in front of the salad cooler. I take a second to look from a distance at my options, and then politely say, "Excuse me," and reach for one. She doesn't move. Okay, I just kind of lean around her. I pick up the salad and realize it's not what I want. Once again, I awkwardly lean around her and say, "Excuse me" again, return the salad, and pick up another. She huffs and turns to her friend and says loudly, "Am I invisible? Do they not see me standing here?" She then gives me a death stare. I was so taken aback I just turned and walked away, which I do regret doing. But I'm on the spectrum, and sometimes I miss social clues. So I thought I had done something to earn such a reaction. Luckily, my friend was with me and confirmed it wasn't me that was the problem. Looking back, she was just being difficult for no reason. There was plenty of space for her to have stepped forward and keep her place in line. Like, I just wanted a salad, and you were standing in front of them? What did you want me to do? Edit. People mentioned she may be hard of hearing and not heard me. Totally valid, and I didn't even think of that. However, I didn't sneak up behind her. I was more standing next to her and she absolutely saw me reaching around her and didn't move. I know she saw me because she gave me a side eye the first time I reached around her. Stories number 29. To fool by forgetting my stroller was empty. Early this morning, I decided to go for a walk with my son 4 months and my husband's Doberman. Since it was nice out, and I figured I could pick up an iced coffee without having to pile into the car, it'd be nice. My 10-year-old daughter asks if she can come. I agree, and she hurries to get changed, and we're out the door, baby strapped into his stroller, still asleep. We walk for about 25 minutes, and I'm just chatting with my 10-year-old about various things when we're going back to school shopping. If she can get a frozen hot chocolate from the coffee shop, if she can get a cookie, if the pool boy is back from vacation, yet, so she can swim before we shut up the pool for the season, yada yada. When finally the baby wakes up, he isn't crying or fussing, just starts kicking a little bit, and his eyes are clearly open. Daughter asks if she can hold him for a little while. I tell her sure, reminding her that if he squirms, she has to put him back. We keep walking for another 10 minutes. We get to the top of a slight incline, and the dog decides to do his business in a patch of grass. And while I'm reaching around, balking at the smell and fumbling to get one of the poop bags out of the holder on the leash, I hear a weird sound and, oh shit, the stroller is rolling away. My dumbass didn't lock the wheels. Shit, my brain is going in 12 different directions. I'm hauling my fat ass down this slight hill, nearly stumbling and eating shit on the pavement twice as the dog embarrasses me by only doing a half trot while I'm sprinting in my mind. There's nobody around, so I can't exactly shout runaway stroller and get help from some stranger. I'm saved by the stroller hitting a pole when it gets to the corner at the bottom of the incline. Stopping in its tracks, I get to the stroller, out of breath, red in the face. I've managed to drop my phone halfway down the hill, so now I have to double back and grab it and still pick up the dog shit. I pull the stroller towards me and turn it around, prepared to reach inside and comfort my baby, and it hits me all at once. The baby is not in the stroller. I just chased after an empty stroller with the full panic of thinking my 4-month-old was about to roll into traffic. Suddenly, I was happy there was nobody around, because at least that means there was no one to record me. My only audience was 2 people I birthed and someone who barks at his own reflection. I turn around, and my 10-year-old is laughing at me, walking at a steady pace, still holding the baby. I was going to tell you, but I wanted to see how long before you remembered, she says. The look on her face reminded me so much of the times my husband would fuck with me back when we were in college. How a shenanigans face can be genetic, I have no idea. I sigh, still huffing and puffing, and tell her to put her brother back in the stroller. We double back to get my phone and pick up the poop. We trudge another 5 minutes to the coffee shop. I get my 30+ ounces of iced espresso, caramel syrup, mocha syrup, and milk. Daughter gets her glorified chocolate milk with whipped cream and a cookie. The dog gets a pup cup. Everyone wins. TLDR, I didn't remember my daughter was holding my baby and proceeded to look like an idiot running after an empty stroller, almost tripping and falling on my face twice. Stories number 30. My BF M20 gave me, F20, an ultimatum over him or my hobbies. I'm a 20F and my boyfriend is M20. Been together for 4 months, and he has been an utter angel to me except for now. The other night my BF, Max, and I were watching a movie when we got into a mini makeout session, and while he was in the process of flipping me over, he got hella frustrated. Then, like some Tom and Jerry scene, he dashes to the end of the bed and started cupping his face like the world was crushing in on him. I asked him what was wrong, and he told me something along the lines of, "This is getting old." At first, this hobby was cute, but I can't get it on with an old man watching me. I feel awful looking back at it, but I laughed at him cause that was so insanely bizarre to me. But he was being dead serious. Before I knew it, he was out of my room and left the apartment. So what is this old man? It's a Magneto figure. Please don't dog on me for this, but I absolutely adore X-Men and my room is decked out in it. I have this collection I'm proud of too, and the Magneto one happens to be my favorite. So he sits on my headboard, and he's roughly around 12 inches tall, with a comic-accurate appearance. After that incident, my boyfriend messaged me and told me I needed to reevaluate my hobby if I wanted to continue the relationship. He's even gone on to say I need to grow up and solve this issue like an adult, but I told him I wouldn't, and he's telling me I'm jeopardizing the best relationship I'll ever get. What do I even do in this situation? Edit. People have mentioned the fact this was posted on a different community. I have it posted on 2 other places just to get advice, so this isn't stolen or a repeat. Same person, just looking for tips on what to do. Update 20F. My BF 20M followed up the ultimatum by absolutely mocking me and my maturity. After the whole incident with my BF storming out of my apartment due to finding my hobby childish collecting comics, figures, etc., he sent me a message telling me I had to choose between him or my hobby. It's been a few days now, and I have been trying to work things out. We were able to sit down at his place and discuss compromises. Since I live with 3 other roommates, he understands I can't put my figures anywhere else but my room. Thus, I agreed to simply put the Magneto figure in the closet whenever he comes over, along with any other figures that may creep him out. Today, he came over early this morning, and I told him everything was stored away in a shoebox and made a dumb joke along the lines of hopefully they don't pull a Toy Story. I wanted to ease the tension and just get back to the usual playfulness we had around each other, but he was constantly annoyed with me. Everything I did, I felt like I was under a lens getting judged. We were doing some clay crafts like you see on TikTok, and during one of the prompts, which was a duck, I gave it a Superman cape. Apparently, that was the breaking point cause he just laid into me about how childish I was. I felt like I was getting absolutely belittled because he was not only saying stuff about my interest, but even doing like this mocking type baby voice at me. He was poorly impersonating me all like, "Oh, on my name. I'm a big collector and I like to act like a little baby. I think childish things are cool. I feel kind of dumb for it." But that did really upset me. It was enough that I wanted to cry because I felt not only humiliated but severely ashamed cause his words were getting to my head. The only reason this even ended was because my roommate overheard him and came into my room, yelling at him and telling him to get out. It was just a mess, a literal ridiculous scene full of 2 of my roommates kicking him out of the apartment and trying to make me feel better. I just got done drafting an entire breakup message with my friend's help, so it's going to be over. I'm not dealing with that jerk again. Stories number 31. Aita for walking out of my cousin's wedding after my mom tried to make me straight with makeup. I 18F recently came out as gay to my parents. It's an open secret with my friends, though it's not really obvious to most people at my school. My parents only found out because my mom got annoyed that I didn't seem to be showing interest in boys at an age that I should be, and asked me directly over the phone. I don't believe in lying to family, so I told her. She was very angry, though my dad was mostly in shock. He told me that if there was any way I could change myself, then I should, but that they would always love me no matter what I chose. I appreciated that, since I know they can be temperamental and they're trying their best. I don't think they understand that I can't change myself, though. My cousin's wedding was last week, and most of my family was attending. My mom has recently gotten this idea that if I wear more makeup and do feminine things, then I'll somehow get on the right track again. I don't enjoy wearing a lot of makeup, which has more to do with feminism than anything else since I'm not butch, but I do like putting on light lipstick and earrings on special occasions. I wore a very flowery salwar kameez with some pink lipstick and expensive earrings, though nothing else. We went to the first event, and when my mom saw what I was wearing, she basically freaked out. I think she wanted me to dress up way more than I did. She pulled me aside to one of the corners and started whisper yelling at me, saying that I was disgraceful and that I was purposefully being abnormal so the whole family would find out. I honestly have no idea if I was dressing up the amount that girls normally should, but I know I didn't do it on purpose. She was also talking about doing things like forcing me to come over every weekend from college and monitoring everything I do on my phone, but I think she was just mad at the moment. She has a habit of doing and saying extreme things in fights, but the things she kept saying made me so mad, and I was hurt. I've been genuinely trying hard to be compassionate and yielding with my parents in their adjustment, but at that moment, it was like all of my sincere efforts were completely wasted. I know I probably shouldn't have, but I ended up leaving the wedding when my parents weren't looking and going over to my girlfriend's house kind of as a silent rebellion, since they don't know about her. Afterwards, both of my parents became even more upset with me, telling me I had embarrassed them in front of the family and that everyone was asking where I had gone. I felt bad after they told me this, since I hadn't even thought my absence would cause a disturbance. There were so many people there, and it was just a distant relative. But now I feel like I made everything exponentially worse than they should have been. A huge fight is going on, and I wonder if I made a terrible mistake in my rashness. So Aita, I always try to be as level as possible, but I think I let my emotions carry me away this time. Stories number 32. Aita for making my son clean up the neighbor's yard after he vandalized it. Last weekend, My 38F son 14M and his friends were playing basketball in our driveway. The ball accidentally went over the fence into our neighbor's yard, and instead of retrieving it properly, he kicked over some flower pots and left footprints all over their freshly raked lawn. I saw the damage when I walked outside. I called him over and asked him what happened. He shrugged and said, "It's not a big deal, they'll fix it." I told him it was a big deal. He had caused real damage and was responsible for fixing it. Later that day, I made him go over to the neighbor's house and apologize in person. Then, I made him spend a couple of hours helping them clean up the yard and replant the flowers he had knocked over. My husband 42M thinks I went too far and that making him do physical work for someone else's property was too embarrassing and harsh. I argued that it wasn't about embarrassment, it was about accountability. The neighbors were very appreciative and said they were glad he took responsibility rather than pretending nothing happened. I understand it might have been awkward for him, but I feel like he learned an important lesson about respecting other people's property and owning up to mistakes. Stories number 33. Aita for being scared to advertise the designer label items I bought in bulk because I'm worried the brand will come after me. So, this is kind of a weird one, and I'm low-key freaking out. A couple months ago, I had the opportunity to buy a semi-truck full of merchandise from a broker who specializes in insurance write-offs. Basically, when trucks of goods are written off after accidents, damages, or whatever, this guy acquires the entire load and sells it wholesale to people like me. I had been saving up for a long time to try some sort of reselling business, so I pulled the trigger. The load cost me around $50,000, which is literally all of my savings. Scary number, I know, but when I found out what was in the truck, I almost couldn't believe it. We're talking designer label merchandise. Like, not sketchy knockoffs, not similar-looking brands, the real deal. Every single item came with tags. I bought the load at basically 5% of MSRP. For perspective, a $500 jacket is costing me around $25. I can easily resell that same jacket for $75, around 15% of MSRP, and still make people feel like they're getting a steal. At my local flea market, I've been doing exactly that, and the demand is insane. I can make $500 on a slow day without trying too hard, and when I bring out the better stuff, I can hit over $1,500. Here's where things get tricky. I initially made a listing on Facebook Marketplace advertising my flea market booth. I wasn't directly listing the items, like I didn't post a photo of a Ralph Lauren polo and say for sale. I was just promoting my booth in general with a vague description like, brand new designer items at deep discounts. Come check us out. But then I got scared. The truckload I bought is almost entirely Ralph Lauren. That's the big brand. And I realized, do they have the legal right to come after me for reselling these items? I mean, technically, I'm not an authorized reseller. I don't have a license with them. I don't have any kind of partnership. I just bought an insurance write-off truckload from a broker. So now I'm stuck in this weird, paranoid middle ground. If I advertise openly online, I'll almost certainly make way more money. But I'm also terrified Ralph Lauren could send me some scary cease and desist letter, sue me, or shut me down completely. If I stay low-key, I'm safe, but leaving so much money on the table. The thing is, this isn't just a side hustle for me. I put literally every penny I had into this truckload. It's my shot at flipping my life around. I grew up poor, I've worked dead-end jobs, and I wanted to take a risk to build something bigger. And it's working. But at the same time, I feel like I'm standing on this really thin line where one wrong move could ruin everything. Also, there's the whole morality question. Like, am I an asshole if I'm reselling this stuff without disclosing exactly how I got it? I'm not lying to customers. I tell people it's from an insurance load, which is true. But I also know Ralph Lauren probably doesn't want their merchandise being sold at flea markets for pennies on the dollar. My wife thinks I should just keep selling in person and never put anything online. If it's working, why mess with it, is her take. But I can't stop thinking about how much more I could be making if I could promote online. It's eating me alive because I don't know if I'm being paranoid or if I'm sitting on a legal grenade that could blow up my life. Update: selling Ralph Lauren from a truckload I bought. Things escalated way faster than I thought. So I wasn't expecting to update so soon, but a lot has happened in the last few weeks since I posted about buying that semi-truck of designer goods and being afraid to advertise too much in case Ralph Lauren came after me. First off, thanks to everyone who weighed in. I got a lot of comments about the first sale doctrine. Basically, if something is legally purchased, the brand can't stop you from reselling it, as long as it's genuine and not counterfeit. That gave me a little bit of confidence. But then other people chimed in about how big corporations can still make your life miserable with lawyers, even if you're technically right. That part stuck with me. Anyway, here's what happened. I decided to experiment with advertising, but very carefully. I didn't blast pictures of Ralph Lauren polos everywhere, but I did start posting vague ads like designer label clothing, new with tags, up to 80% off retail. Come find us at flea market name, booth, number. I threw up a couple pictures of racks of clothes without zooming in on logos. The results? Holy crap. My booth basically turned into a zoo. People were lining up like I was giving out free cash. I went from doing maybe $700 to $800 a day to over $2,000 in sales on my best day. It felt like I'd cracked the code, but with that came some new problems. Suspicion from other vendors. The flea market community is small. Suddenly, I'm the guy moving massive amounts of designer gear. And of course, the whispers started. Is it fake? Is he laundering? Did he steal it? One lady even accused me of selling knockoffs right in front of customers. I had to awkwardly explain the whole insurance truckload thing to people who weren't even buying from me. The brand sniffing around. Maybe. Here's the sketchy part. One day, this really well-dressed guy in his 40s came to my booth. He didn't haggle, didn't look around much, just asked me a bunch of pointed questions. Where do you source your inventory? Do you have a resale license? How much volume do you move in a week? It honestly felt like he was undercover. I tried to play dumb and vague, but he gave me this weird smile and said, "Enjoy it while it lasts." Then he bought a $50 sweater and left. I don't know if he was just a nosy customer, but I swear my stomach dropped. Storage and theft became a nightmare. Since I couldn't fit everything in my garage anymore, I started renting a storage unit nearby. Twice now, I've had people try to break in. The storage company called me last week because someone actually cut into the lock. Thankfully, nothing was taken, but it's freaking me out. Word travels fast when you're known as the designer guy. At the same time, the money has been ridiculous. I've already recouped almost half my initial $50,000 investment, and I've only sold maybe a quarter of the truckload. If things keep going at this pace, I'll be way in the green. But here's the kicker. Last weekend, 2 people came to my booth who said they were interested in buying in bulk. They wanted to know if I'd sell them like 200 pieces at once for cash. On one hand, that would be a massive cash injection. On the other, it feels like exactly the kind of move that could put me on a radar I don't want to be on. So now I'm in this weird crossroads. Do I keep grinding at the flea market quietly, maybe expanding to 2 booths? Do I try to offload big chunks of inventory wholesale and risk attention? Or do I pull back entirely before something bad happens? My wife is stressed because she's convinced Ralph Lauren will send lawyers after us any day now. I'm stressed because I'm starting to think she might not be wrong. The irony is, I was scared to advertise at all, but the second I dipped my toe in, things blew up way faster than I thought they would. Second update. The designer truckload saga just got real. So after my last update, a bunch of you said lay low, get a lawyer, or don't get greedy. Well, turns out I might have pushed things a little too far, and now I'm dealing with consequences I wasn't prepared for. Here's what went down. 1. The letter. About a week ago, I got a very official-looking letter in the mail from a law firm representing Ralph Lauren. My heart nearly exploded. The gist of it was, they're aware I'm selling Ralph Lauren merchandise. They want documentation proving the source of my inventory. They reserve the right to pursue damages if I'm found to be infringing on their trademarks. It wasn't a full-blown cease and desist, at least not yet, but it was enough to scare the hell out of me. My wife literally burst into tears reading it. I immediately stopped all Facebook ads, pulled back on mentioning designer in my flea market descriptions, and basically went radio silent online. 2. The broker went MIA. Remember the guy I bought the truck from? Yeah, suddenly he's ghosting me. I called, texted, emailed, nothing. When I finally tracked him down through another buyer, he was super vague and said something like, "Oh, I don't keep records like that. The insurance auctions don't want that info public." Which, sounds shady as hell. I realized fast that if Ralph Lauren actually presses, I have no paper trail proving this stuff is legit. 3. Customers brought more attention. This one's almost funny in hindsight. A few regulars at my booth started bragging online about how they scored authentic Ralph Lauren for dirt cheap. One woman even tagged the official Ralph Lauren account in her Instagram story, flexing her $80 cashmere sweater. Within 24 hours, that post mysteriously disappeared. Either she got spooked or someone told her to take it down. 4. The flea market drama. The flea market management pulled me aside last weekend. Apparently, someone, no idea who, called in saying I was selling counterfeit goods. They said they can't afford that kind of liability and warned me that if any official complaints come in, I'll be booted. I tried explaining the whole insurance truckload thing, but they didn't look convinced. Here's the kicker though. While they were chewing me out, I had 5 people hovering outside my booth waiting to buy. It's like the more heat I get, the more popular my stuff becomes. 5. My current situation. Right now, I'm in full damage control mode. I pulled everything with giant Ralph Lauren logos off the racks and stuck to selling the more subtle pieces, plain polos, button-ups, coats without obvious branding. I'm still moving a ton of volume, but I feel like I'm walking on eggshells every time I open the booth. On the bright side, I've officially broken even on the $50,000 investment, so everything from here is profit. On the not-so-bright side, I might be one lawsuit away from losing it all. TLDR, I got a lawyer letter from Ralph Lauren asking for proof of where my truckload of goods came from. My broker ghosted me, customers accidentally drew more attention online, and the flea market warned me about counterfeit complaints. I've already made my money back, but now I'm selling in low-key mode because I feel like I'm being watched. Stories number 34. Aita for pretending to be a Christian? Hi everyone, so my boyfriend and I got into a fight last weekend. He is a devout Christian. He made this clear to me when we started dating. I told him pretty much that it's fine for me, but that he shouldn't expect me to convert for him. Obviously, I will respect any traditions he wishes to follow as long as he respects me and my authority. For a couple of months, he has been a bit more pushy about it. We had a conversation at the time. He told me that he believes it's his responsibility to at least try to get me into the Lord's light. I put an ultimatum then, that he was to respect my views on religion or we'd be done. Things were a bit awkward after this since I didn't feel like joining him for church anymore after this. Before I went with him once in a while to show that I care about him. Now last weekend we were invited by his mom for a dinner party. Like him, she's very devout, but a sweet lady. So before dinner she likes to pray and read a Bible passage. No big deal, I am holding hands and waiting patiently until the food comes out. While eating she asked what I thought of the passage she had read. It was the passage where King Solomon offers to cut a baby in half to appease 2 claimed mothers, and the real mother giving up her baby to avoid harming it, and thus proving she's the one. I just told my MIL my thoughts on it. How it is a beautiful passage and shows that sometimes people can cause a lot of harm by pretending and claiming things that isn't theirs. She was happy and smiled and praised me for how wise beyond my years I am. So my boyfriend just kinda snickered and said that it was funny since this was all an act from me. He exposed me as not being Christian and that I didn't even allow him to try and convert me. His mom just kinda looked sad and said something like everyone gets to choose their own path, but dinner was very awkward after this. So obviously I confront him after. That what he did was not cool. I am fine standing still and praying. I am fine listening to a Bible text and discussing it. I am just not fine being asked to convert and do these things every day, and I am certainly not fine being exposed for something as silly as that. But he told me that leading his mom on is dishonest, and I should have made the same thing clear to her. In his words, pretending to be a Christian is much worse than just not being a Christian. So yeah, in my opinion, I was just participating in a family tradition with good intentions. In his opinion, I was deceiving his family. Am I really the asshole for not making it clear that I don't believe in it? Stories number 35. Aita for pretending to be a Christian? Hi everyone, so my boyfriend and I got into a fight last weekend. He is a devout Christian. He made this clear to me when we started dating. I told him pretty much that it's fine for me, but that he shouldn't expect me to convert for him. Obviously, I will respect any traditions he wishes to follow as long as he respects me and my authority. For a couple of months, he has been a bit more pushy about it. We had a conversation at the time. He told me that he believes it's his responsibility to at least try to get me into the Lord's light. I put an ultimatum then, that he was to respect my views on religion or we'd be done. Things were a bit awkward after this since I didn't feel like joining him for church anymore after this. Before I went with him once in a while to show that I care about him. Now last weekend we were invited by his mom for a dinner party. Like him, she's very devout, but a sweet lady. So before dinner she likes to pray and read a Bible passage. No big deal, I am holding hands and waiting patiently until the food comes out. While eating she asked what I thought of the passage she had read. It was the passage where King Solomon offers to cut a baby in half to appease 2 claimed mothers, and the real mother giving up her baby to avoid harming it, and thus proving she's the one. I just told my MIL my thoughts on it. how it is a beautiful passage and shows that sometimes people can cause a lot of harm by pretending and claiming things that isn't theirs. She was happy and smiled and praised me for how wise beyond my years I am. So my boyfriend just kind of snickered and said that it was funny since this was all an act for me. He exposed me as not being Christian and that I didn't even allow him to try and convert me. His mom just kind of looked sad and said something like everyone gets to choose their own path, but dinner was very awkward after this. So obviously I confront him after that what he did was not cool. I am fine standing still and praying. I am fine listening to a Bible text and discussing it. I am just not fine being asked to convert and do these things every day, and I am certainly not fine being exposed for something as silly as that. But he told me that leading his mom on is dishonest, and I should have made the same thing clear to her. In his words, pretending to be a Christian is much worse than just not being a Christian. So yeah, in my opinion, I was just participating in a family tradition with good intentions. In his opinion, I was deceiving his family. Am I really the asshole for not making it clear that I don't believe in it? Stories number 36. Whipta if I told my wife that I didn't want to take extended family vacations anymore. So I 44M took a vacation with my wife 43F, son 5M, and my L 65F, SGL 38F, and her two boys 10M and 12M. We all shared one vehicle and Airbnbs. We had a lot of activities and had fun, but the times in between were stressful. I love my wife's family, but there are things they do which grates on me. My nephews are good, well-behaved children, but, like my own son and many other boys, they are either completely running full pedal to the metal or sleeping. My SGL and MIL have the habit of constantly interjecting while driving, which is a trigger of mine. When stressed, I put on music to calm me, but when I turned it on, they all complained they didn't like it. They have the habit of asking me a question of what I think, then question and pick apart my answer. When I try to preemptively explain an answer, it takes too long, and they interrupt and come to their own conclusion. I have ADHD. When trying to explain what ADHD means about my thought processes or memory, my wife dismisses me with, well, you're taking medication. Shouldn't that fix it? I need times with quiet and little disruption or stimulation. This is usually playing a game or reading a book on my Kindle app. Trying to do this, I get my extended family nagging for me to get off my phone. While I did have fun and enjoyable times during many of the planned activities, I had no time to decompress or de-stress. It usually ended up being stressful with no time at all alone. When taking vacations with just my wife and son, I actually get decompression time. I really do not want to take another vacation driving great distances with extended family again. 7 people in one vehicle that is overstuffed with luggage and constant noise, especially when I get berated for doing things to prevent myself from being bothered by it. Whiptha if I told her I would like to not take vacations like this anymore, or maybe go to renting 2 vehicles and having separate accommodations from family. I understand sharing Airbnbs and a vehicle cut costs, but it came at the cost of my sanity and mental health. Stories number 37. Aita for calling my sister's roommate a dumb bitch. I 16M came out to my parents a few weeks before summer started. My dad was okay and my sisters were great, but my mom has been kind of shitty about it, and arguing with her about it has been getting a lot. I asked dad and my older sister Kara 20F if I could stay with her at her apt over the summer, and they agreed. My sister's roommate Sarah 22F was cool at first, being all super supportive, and that was nice. Only thing is she was always asking me out to do really gay stuff. Like she kept wanting to go get our nails done, or wanting me to let her paint my nails. Or she kept trying to get me to watch Drag Race or dress up and go to drag shows, or help her shop and other stuff like that. I'm not like way into like gay culture. I guess I play football and baseball, and I like camping with my dad. I'm not femme or anything, not that I think there's anything wrong with that, and I guess I don't have a lot of gay interest other than guys. I'm practically my dad, just gay and better at football and video games. Every time I turned her down, it was basically some variation of "you sure you're gay?" or "you don't act gay at all. How could a guy like you be gay?" A lot of the same kind of stuff with my mom, but a lot less yelling and I guess more joking. I kind of tried to let it go cause I didn't want to cause issues with Kara and her roommates, since she'd been letting me practically live out of her living room and eat all their food. Plus, they took me to Pride, which was really cool. Last week before I came back home for school, I was watching TV with Sarah, and she starts in about how I need to loosen up and to stop trying to act so straight. I got really mad at that, and I yelled at her I wasn't acting like anything. She starts telling me I'm internalized, and I called her an ignorant dumb bitch and told her to go FCK herself. Kara heard us and was past, and she dragged me outside asking what was going on. After I told her she was still mad, I didn't just tell her, and that I blew up like that instead of just talking to Sarah or to her. My dad thinks I way overreacted. Ida,